Please welcome your host for the evening, CNBC-TV18's Arundhati Ramanan.
Good evening, Mumbai. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to HSBC presents CNBC TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective Season 4, co-presented by Cognizant. After a powerful and successful launch of Season 4 in New Delhi, where this platform once again brought together some of the country's most influential voices to push the conversation on gender equity from intent to action, we are proud to bring the next chapter of the journey here to Mumbai. And there could not be a more fitting city for this conversation. Mumbai is where ambition is institutionalized, where capital moves fast, decisions move markets, and leadership shapes the direction of corporate India. This is where industries are built, where boardrooms define business priorities, and where the question of who rises and who gets left behind becomes impossible to ignore. Because this is not just a conversation about representation, it is a conversation about power, access, retention, and the real cost of moving too slowly on gender equity. In a city that prides itself in performance, merit, and momentum, tonight we ask a simple but an urgent question. What will it take to build leadership pipelines that do not just include women, but are designed for them to lead, scale, and stay? Before we find the answers, a special thank you to HSBC India, our presenting partner, Cognizant, our co-presenting partner, Reliance Industries Limited, powered by partner, FICCI industry partner, and IMFA partner for supporting this platform and helping drive conversations that actually matter. And as we begin, if you'd like to stay connected with the Future Female Forward community beyond this evening, simply scan the QR code displayed on the LED screens to join the FFF on Instagram. Now, to open the evening and set the tone for the conversations ahead, please welcome the powerful voice that has made Future Female Forward one of the most important and incisive platforms shaping corporate India's gender agenda. Please join me in welcoming Shireen Bhan, Managing Editor, CNBC TV18.
Good evening, Mumbai. It's wonderful to be back here for another edition of Future Female Forward. I have to tell you, we had a great launch in Delhi. We had a 2-year-old record-breaking marvel, and we got to experience the likeness of being Kalpana Iyer. Delhi was everything that Future Female Forward stands for: diverse, inclusive, and boundaryless. And I can't wait to see the magic that unfolds this evening. So let's get started with a big round of applause for all of you who are here this evening to celebrate the spirit of Future Female Forward. Ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday is Mother's Day, and I thought, what better time to talk about the fact that in the corporate world, becoming a mother is still one of the single biggest career risks that a woman can take. We have new data that tells us why. Tonight, we released the findings from the CNBC TV18 FICCI survey on women in the workforce. 100 organizations surveyed across industry, surveyed between January and March of 2026. And the headline, ladies and gentlemen, is not entirely surprising. Women are entering the workforce, but they're not traveling through it at the same speed. Across surveyed companies, women make up 28.5% of the workforce. In the C-suite, that falls to 18.2%. And if you look at the direct reports to senior leadership, it's 13.8%. So as that slide tells you, every rung up, fewer women is what you see. In the last 3 years, 58% of organizations hired women in just 20 to 39% of their new roles. Not one firm crossed 80%. So the pipeline is not widening. It's pretty much holding its shape. Virginia Woolf wrote that a woman must have money and a room of her own. What she did not say is what happens when she has the room, but not the route to power inside it. And that is precisely where we find ourselves today. The policy base exists. The POSH framework is mandatory. Flexible timings, flexible locations, these are now becoming more common practice. But succession planning is fully implemented in only 38% of organizations. Formal sponsorship, the mechanism that actually moves careers, not just advises them, exists in just 5%. A mentor tells you what is possible. A sponsor helps you make it happen. India Inc. has embraced the conversation, but not fully embraced the action that is needed. And then there is the number that I keep coming back to, and that number is going to be on your screens. Attrition. Attrition specifically among new mothers, 17.8%. So nearly 1 in 5 women within a year of returning quit. Not 1 in 5 who lost ambition, not 1 in 5 who stopped being good at their job, but 1 in 5 whom the workplace at a critical life stage simply stopped working. And look at what the data says about why. When we asked organizations what childcare support they actually provide, only 47% offer subsidized or on-site facilities. 29% offer no financial assistance at all. Reimbursement exists in 23% of the firms. After-school support, the kind that matters when your child is 6, not 6 months, just 8%. Flex spend or tax support, 10%. The infrastructure of return is thin. And so, can we really say that we're surprised that women don't stay on? Tilly Olson called it being instantly interruptible. Not weak, not distracted, instantly interruptible. Corporate India has still not fully priced in the cost of that interruption. But here's what almost nobody is talking about yet. The care penalty does not end at the nursery door. 31% organizations have no elder care policy of any kind whatsoever. Financial support for elder care, the kind that determines whether a woman in her 40s can say yes to a stretch role or an international assignment, exists in only 6% of organizations. In their 30s, women end up being penalized for childcare, while in their 40s and 50s, for parent care. Both decades are peak leadership years, and both are being left largely undesigned for the responsibilities that fall largely on the shoulders of women. And then there is the accountability question, which remains open. Only 3% of organizations make pay equity findings publicly available. Measurement is rising. Unfortunately, transparency is not. So what does the path forward actually look like? Our data on the leadership pipeline is clarifying. Mentorship is fully implemented in 45% of organizations, leadership development programs in 41%. Succession planning, as we noted, in 38%. The numbers are not negligible, but look at what sits alongside them. Only 17.5% of organizations offer both mentorship and sponsorship together. Formal sponsorship alone, just 5%. Another 32.5% say they are planning to implement something, and 12.5% offer nothing at all. Mentorship is present, sponsorship is scarce. And it is sponsorship, not mentorship, that determines who gets the room at the top. Maya Angelou said, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. Every woman in a leadership role carries the weight of all the women who were not given the chance." That is not inspiration, ladies and gentlemen. That is institutional debt. Future Female Forward Season 4, yes, it is our 4th year, is not asking whether India Inc. understands diversity. It does. It is asking whether India Inc. is prepared to redesign outcomes in leadership, in pay, in access, in succession. So we are not here tonight to celebrate resilience as a substitute for reform. The point is not that exceptional women survive impossible systems. The point is that the system keeps asking women to be exceptional, and that is what needs to change. For too long, the story has been that women lack ambition, that they choose to leave, that they're not ready. But the data, as we showed you, is the lamp. We have had enough of that story. It is time to act, and the time is now. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Season 4 of Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective, the Mumbai edition. I hope you enjoy the evening. We're going to have some great conversations, and we will continue to honor women from all walks of life, and you'll see many of them on our stage here tonight. So have a great evening and join the conversations on Future Female Forward. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you so much for taking us through that, Shireen. Now, if India is entering its decade of scale, the conversation cannot only be about capital, consumption, or technology. Growth at scale demands something deeper. It demands talent depth. And that changes the question. It is not just about who enters the workforce. It is about who stays, who grows, who gets backed, and who gets the opportunity to lead, because that is where growth is either built or lost. Now, the leadership gap is not just a diversity issue, it is a business issue, one that shapes innovation, resilience, and long-term growth. To help us frame that perspective, it is a privilege to welcome someone who brings both a sharp view of India's growth story and a clear understanding of what it will take to sustain it. Please join me in welcoming Hitendra Dave, the CEO of HSBC India. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Dave.
Thank you. As you heard, this is the 4th edition, and we do this in multiple cities. And in many of these cities, I have the privilege of going after Shireen to speak, which means, it's not exactly an easy job for me. But today she's given a lot of data, a lot of things to think about. I just want to share some, because whenever this subject comes up, it can become like nothing has changed. It's all downbeat, there is no future for women, etc. But my own sense genuinely is that things in the last 5 years or so, but definitely over the slightly longer period of time, things have improved quite a bit. And we should put that also on the table. I think a lot of the things that you mentioned there, elder care, day care, school care, the kind of maternity policies, I think you will find the progressive companies are now frankly as good as any of their peers around the world, if not better than that. I think you will also find, at least in my experience and discussions with a lot of senior people, that the tone at the top has improved quite a bit from being something we do because, well, the society expects us to do it or my women colleagues expect us to do it. But I think it's now increasingly moved into, if we have to compete effectively in the market, if we have to have good products, if we have to have a consumer who understands, whom we are able to understand better, without having an inclusive organization, I think most well-run companies, well-run leaderships have realized that without a proper representation of women across, through the whole layer of the organization, it is your chances, you're up against it otherwise, right? I think talking about talent, retention, pipeline, leadership, I would again think, yes, I didn't think it in the framework that was mentorship, yes, sponsorship, no, but something all of us to, the purpose of these events actually is to trigger a conversation, right? So that we can all go back and say, we heard that data, we heard this speaker, we heard this thought, is it applicable in my company or not? But I just want to share, why HSBC is partnering with CNBC-TV18 here is simply, I think 4 or 5 years back, when we were looking at the growth prospects for India, growth prospects for HSBC in India, looking at what could be done in this country, I think one of the early thoughts of our team, senior leadership team, was that exactly this. Let's get behind this agenda publicly. And that time it was not always easy, even within my own organization. I'll be honest, there was, why are we going only one-sided? Why don't you just say inclusive? Just say inclusive. Nobody has a problem with the word inclusive, right? So I think from that point, I think it's been a great partnership for us. It's the biggest impact I feel it's had is on our young women employees. Okay, they are going back home to their hostels or wherever or homes or wherever, and talking about the fact that there is sincerity to this cause. So I really hope each such event we do, each such session we have, some of the awards we give to the amazing women. I have seen some, there was this, and Shireen will have the detail, but there was this woman in Bangalore, I think 6 months pregnant or something, and she lifted 60 or 80 kgs on the stage in front of us. It was just unbelievable, right? That's just one example of the amazing talent, amazing skills, amazing, taboos that have been broken in front of us. So So I really hope that each such event, each such discussion leads to a little bit of progress. And like I always say, we always say, if just a single percentage point amongst us go back saying, I am going to lean in fully, I think the partnership, the time spent, and the investment would have been well worth it. I wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.
That was a valuable perspective on why the leadership gap must be treated and not as a diversity challenge alone, but as a growth challenge for Indian enterprise. Now, breakthrough leadership is one of those phrases we hear often, but tonight it means something very specific. It means leadership that does not simply work within a system, but changes. It is leadership that leaves an institution stronger, sharper, and more open than it was before. Leadership that makes the path for the next woman feel less exceptional and far more possible. To take this conversation ahead, please welcome Shireen Bhan. And now joining us for the conversation is a leader who has redefined what breakthrough leadership looks like across two very different worlds. At the State Bank of India, she led one of the country's largest and most complex institutions as the first woman chairperson. And today at Salesforce South Asia, she leads at the intersection of scale, technology and transformation, shaping how opportunity is being built for the future. Please give a huge round of applause to Arundhati Bhattacharya, President and CEO, Salesforce South Asia.
I've had the privilege and the good fortune of having many conversations with Arundhati Bhattacharya over the last 2 decades. And I will always remember one thing that she told me when I was having a conversation around this, often these balancing acts that women have to do between marriage, maternity, careers, and so on and so forth. And I asked her, I said, if I were to ask you to leave us with a message for young women who are trying to negotiate these very difficult challenges that life often throws us, what is it that you would say? And she said that it was in fact your boss who told you that a fulfilled woman is a happy woman. And I think that is something that all of us need to take note of. A fulfilled woman is a happy woman who will then go on to contribute in a positive way in everything that she does in life. Arundhati Bhattacharya, it's wonderful to have you join us here this evening. Thank you so much for your time. For those who may not necessarily know that much about your journey, from a young girl in Kolkata to leading India's largest bank, the first woman to do so. The bank didn't even have, your visiting card said chairman, it didn't even have chairperson. What were some of the most important insights that you can share with us through that course of your journey?
That was a very long journey, in fact, and just the other day, I was telling a colleague of mine that now it's 49 years in corporate life that I've been there, which is much more than the age of most of the people in my current organization. And once in a while I wonder, this long journey, how I made it here. It seems almost, like a dream, I would say. Because actually speaking, when we joined the bank, we had no idea where we were going, how we are going to head there. There was no plan. There was nothing, in my mind that, I'm going to land up where I did. It was all a question of putting one foot before the other and ensuring that you keep doing that consistently and as well as you can. So a long journey starts with that. And if you keep at it, if you don't give up, if you keep ensuring that you are giving your best, then, you will get somewhere. I suppose, that's the best way to put it. But in that journey, though, what is very important is you do need people that will support you. And whether it be at work or at home, the ecosystem around you does make a difference. If you have a nurturing ecosystem, a helping ecosystem, your journey will be that much easier. If you don't have that, then it becomes a much more difficult journey. And therefore, I think one of the very deliberate attempts that I did was to create an ecosystem that would be supportive. So if you ask me, that is one of the things that I did. The second thing was I always got very excited about new things. Maybe a little too excited for my own good, but it's the one probably fault or also probably one of the strengths that I had, that I was never put off by the fact that I would have to take up new jobs in new places, learn as I sort of lead. So all of those things were actually, they came naturally to me. Probably that's, again, another big advantage that I had. And the last but not least is the fact that, I do believe that, collaboration is what we need. And collaboration really means that you give as much as you take. In fact, you give more than you take. And then what happens is, this is a very strange law of the universe probably, the more you give, the more you get back in return. It's one of the things that I have seen, and I've experienced it in my life over and over again. So you have to be very, very generous in the way you come across. And frankly, what are you giving? You have to give encouragement, you have to give time, you have to give, give off yourself, basically, in order to ensure that the people around you feel that, they are getting supported, that, they can overcome whatever it is to be overcome. So I would say these 2 or 3 things probably has helped me a lot.
Well, you enjoy new challenges, you revel in new challenges, and after a stellar career at State Bank of India, you retired as the chairperson of India's largest bank. You decided to switch completely and join the tech world, join a multinational company, join Salesforce. Where does this fearlessness come from? And I'll ask you this in the context of the fact that women always feel that, if we're not absolutely good enough for the role, if we're not absolutely prepared to take it on, they'll shrink, they'll hold themselves back. The men have no such problem, and the data tells us that as well. What was going on in your head as you encountered so many of these new challenges that you decided to throw yourself into?
Well, probably I lack the gene. I don't think there is anything else in it. But you are right, You put 5 men and 5 women from the same rank, from the same kind of background, and give them a stretch challenge. And you ask who will volunteer. You'll find all 5 male hands going up. Of the females, 1 or 2 will tentatively put their hands up. 100% I can tell you all 5 will never go up. Because the moment such a challenge comes before them, they are doing a lot of calculations in the mind. Is this going to be something that I'll be able to be good at? What if I fail? What if this impacts my family life? Will I have the time for it? Can I learn as quickly as it will be expected? 100 questions. For me, the thing is, the time to question will come. But that's not now. Volunteer for it and then see where you get. And you will do just as well as somebody else. Why people can't have that confidence in themselves is something that I don't quite understand. But, well, I don't suffer from it, thankfully, so here I am.
And it's worked to your advantage. Holding your hand up has worked clearly to your advantage. But, we were just talking about what the data is telling us in terms of the organizational changes that are required, the ecosystems that you spoke of that we need to create, and we need to design mindfully to ensure that we don't continue to see that leaky pipeline. And, I said at the beginning that we have this notion, we celebrate the resilience of women, we celebrate the ability for women to multitask, but you're actually putting the pressure on the women to be able to do all of these things. It's almost an acquired superpower. What can we do? What did you do, for instance, as a leader to create that nurturing ecosystem?
So, if you ask me, first of all, I'll tell you regarding this concept that women need to be, a representation of Durga. And especially because I come from Bengal, and as luck would have it, I took over the job of the chairman on Durga Shashti. Okay, so just as Durga Puja was beginning, on that very day I took over my job in SBI. And so obviously, there was this constant
energy.
refrain. Yeah. So I told them very, very clearly that I am not anywhere close to wanting to be even Durga. I am a simple common person. I have exactly 2 hands. I don't have 10 hands. And there is no reason for me to go to war on any count whatsoever. Okay, so please, means worshipping the female form as though the form can do everything is not what you want. You want to be treated as a human being that needs rest, that needs time off, that needs to have time to themselves. You are a common, regular person.
Yeah.
That's how you need to be treated. And if people are going to sort of, make
I'm
you...
surprised there isn't a louder applause for that, because I think that really is the problem.
We are nowhere near all of these things, And to even want to be that is wrong. Because then you're putting a stress on yourself that's way, way difficult. I remember, for instance, my sister, for instance, she's a homemaker. And she's very particular about, everything in the house. Like the cushion must be just so, and the cups must be, served in just this manner. And she used to tell me that you live like a bhoot, like a ghost. Because, there are cobwebs in your ceiling and stuff like that. So I tell her that, it's a peaceful coexistence with the spiders. So don't worry about it, I am not so bothered about cobwebs. I am bothered about the fact that I get home and I have a comfortable home, and that's it. I don't have to have the cushions at a particular angle. I don't have to have everything, spick and span. Yes, I am also a proud homeowner, but that doesn't mean that I have to have everything exactly in its place. And it's true in the office as well. Sometimes your presentations will not be that beautiful. Sometimes you'll just put up, what we call quip or a Canva, sheet. We'll just put that up because I haven't yet had chance to create a dashboard. So be it. As long as there is material there, people shouldn't bother about the optics of it so much. So that is one. But creating the ecosystem, I think, the one simple way of doing that is reach out to people whenever you can. And reach out to them with a smile, maybe with a helping hand, maybe asking them when your job is over quicker, whether you can do something for them. So just being kind, in 2 words, is all that you need to create an ecosystem. Just be kind. Be kind and trusting. Because if you don't trust, for instance, if you're leaving your home with your caretaker, or you're leaving your home with your mother-in-law, and you are getting into all these fancy things about the child shouldn't be having sugar, shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that, and all the, modern stuff that has come up, you have to ultimately realize that that is the woman who's either brought up you or your husband. So if she has done a great job in doing that, let her be. Why are we, we really and truly go after the small things. We sweat the small things. We need to, give up control wherever we can. We need to delegate wherever we can. That works in the office as well. And I remember a woman, especially, when I was in SBI, she was my best programmer, by the way. She used to take 3 weeks leave before her son's examinations, which is fine. But during those 3 weeks, her team used to go around like headless chicken, because they didn't know what to do. She had everything in her hand. So when she came back from her leave in one of those times, I told her that the next promotions are due and I'm not going to recommend you. And she was shocked. She said, I'm your best programmer. I said, yes. And that's the very reason why I'm not going to recommend. Because you do not share with your team. You are not a good team leader. You're an individual contributor. Stay that. The next step up, you will have to lead much bigger teams, and you're not good for that. So unless and until I see a change in you, you're not getting recommended. She obviously changed and she went ahead and got promoted. But the fact is, there are a lot of women who can't give up control.
Does that stem from fear? Does it stem from insecurity? Because the pipeline and the funnel that leads to the top is so thin, as we pointed out, that perhaps that need for control or that need to sort of hold on to your turf and territory stems from a feeling of insecurity.
Actually speaking, if you ask me, men are more territorial than women. It's not the territory, but it could be insecurity. It could be the feeling that I will be supplanted and I will no longer be needed. Now my question there is, why do you need to be needed? There is no need for you to be needed. Why can you not take it that you are adding value and you'll be needed for that and not for seeking control? Try and add value. That's the way one needs to work. And I have constantly said this to my team, that while people shouldn't notice that you are absent, they often do, because we have this beautiful stuff that we wear, which is not black and grey and brown.
in all your resplendent colors.
Yeah, in all our splendid colors. If you are not there, so they lack that blob of color in the room and know that you are not there. But that could be the only reason that you are missed, not for anything else. Because your team will cover up your absence completely. However, when you are present, you should be noticed not for that blob of color, but because of the value that you are adding. So you shouldn't be missed during your absence, but you must be felt during your presence. If we can do that, then I can tell you, you will be confident enough to give up control.
Well, there's gems being thrown here by Arundhati Bhattacharya. I hope you're taking note of the wonderful, pragmatic and very practical truth bombs that you're throwing our way here this evening. But I think I want you to address an issue which I know is a personal issue for you as well. And it's something that many in this room and many who are watching us online and the community that we've built have encountered and dealt with. Maternity. And the choices that women have to make around that time. And that is when we actually see the data tells us, we see that sharp decline in numbers of women opting out of the workforce. I know you also encountered a very tough decision, a tough choice. You, in fact, also considered the possibility of giving up your career. What made you want to stay? And how did you then navigate your way through that?
Yes, so of course, mine wasn't during maternity. Mine was a little later on, when I was wondering whether I would find in those days, in a place like Lucknow, a proper school, which my daughter needed. And what Mr. Verma, who I used to look upon as a mentor, what he told me was very simple, that, giving up is a 30-second job. Okay, so it's 2 lines that you email and it's done. So that should be absolutely your last recourse. So it's like the nuclear option, and you never use it. Okay, you never use the nuclear option unless you really want to self-annihilate.
Even President Trump is hesitant.
So unless you have a death wish, you don't do it. Okay, so you need to explore every single way prior to that. And to my surprise of surprises, I found an excellent school over there. And I had not even thought about going there and exploring this before taking a call about giving up. And in fact, I told him, you can be so naive. One can be so naive. I think about it now. I told him I'm going to move my entire family over there, and then I'll find there is no school, and then I'll have to come back, and all this, disruptions. Why cause it? And he said, why do you need to take your family? You can't leave her behind for 2 weeks. Leave her behind for 2 weeks. Go there. Actually have a look at the situation. See if there is a school. Go talk to it. And then if there is something, at that point of time, move your family. You don't need to move with everybody. And that's exactly what I did. And I found, a school good enough for her to be in. And, I could continue with my career. So also I think, there are a number of times in our careers when we come across these situations. And one of the things that we did, which was a sabbatical for elderly care.
Yeah.
And while I don't know whether your data showed it, but elderly care is another reason why a lot of women actually give up.
It showed exactly that, yes.
So the reason there again, and I've checked with people, one of the reasons is many of the women, they credit their mothers or mothers-in-law for their rise in their career because the children were looked after by them. When those people fall sick, they really and truly feel guilty about leaving them in the hands of a caretaker and going off to work. And then they have to take a call whether I work or I give up and keep looking after her. At that point of time, if you have this choice of a sabbatical, or now after COVID, it doesn't even need to be a sabbatical, it can be just remote working, then you have really solved a problem. And there I have an actual case where after we had instituted this, one woman came up to me and told me that my mother-in-law was very sick and I didn't want to leave her alone, and I had decided to put in my papers when the sabbatical came, so I took a year's leave. Unfortunately, she passed away in 3 months' time, and I rejoined immediately, and my career is like before. But I would have given up a 22-year-old career for those 3 months. I had no idea how long it would take. But for those 3 months, I would have destroyed this career of mine. So I think it's very important for us to have a little flexibility. And today, because of COVID, we know that remote working can be just as productive. There are roles that can be earmarked for remote working, and you can still keep them up to date with whatever is going on with the processes, with the technology and things like that by allowing them to work. In fact, if you allow them to work different hours, you can yourself extend the amount of time that this organization is giving, serving its customers. We have to find innovative ways of doing this. And the other thing that I think that we need to do is we need a little more empathy. The empathy piece, always gets sort of, diluted because people always feel that if you're making a special provision for somebody, there is an element of favoritism. Okay. The fact that this is not favoritism, that this is important for the family, for the country, for the nation itself, that people stay and they still support families, I think we need to make that very clear to people around us.
You give us wonderful examples, but the idea of empathy and the idea of kindness, how do you build that into an organization of scale? I mean, State Bank of India is one of the largest organizations in India. It's not just the largest bank, it's one of the largest organizations in India. You've got people across the country. Kindness and empathy, how do you institutionalize that? Because I think that is the challenge that most companies are sort of coming up against at this point in time.
But these things come from the top. None of these things can sort of come up by osmosis. They have to go down from the top. There has to be a diffusion. And actually speaking, there was a time when we had certain metrics in our performance that sort of gave certain incentives or took away some money if we didn't meet certain goals of creating diversity and things like that. There was a time when these things were there. And I believe that, if you really want to ensure that you are creating that roadmap, you are creating that effort to plug the leaky pipeline, you need to put in some metrics and you need to have incentives and disincentives, a measuring mechanism in order to ensure that those metrics are being fulfilled. What is not measured never happens.
Yeah.
So you need a goal, you need a monitoring, and you need a mitigation method. You need all of these. So if you can do that along with some incentives, disincentives, and the incentives, disincentives can be as simple as just recognition. Doesn't have to be money.
Yeah.
Okay, it could be just
and that goes a long way.
It goes a hell of a long way. If that can be done, I think, then the corporates can have a real chance of getting there.
What will it take for us to get more women? I mean, there was a period of time in India, and I think we were the highest number of women heading banks in India globally as well. What will it take for us to be able to make that the norm and not the exception?
That's a tough one. It really is a tough one. Because I don't think we have put those metrics in place. Okay? But if you saw the boards had very few women, right? And SEBI put in the norm that there has to be a woman on the board. Immediately what happened, women came on the board. And by the way, most of the women were women related to the families.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I'm not saying that they are not competent. Most of them are extremely competent, but they are related. Okay? And if you are related, then you really can't speak your, whatever is on your mind. So then SEBI came in and specifically said it has to be an independent woman.
Director, yeah.
Okay, that also is done. But you look at the number of government companies or PSUs that still doesn't have an independent director on the board, woman director on the board. Why are we not holding this up and telling the government that you need to walk the talk? You need to be an example of ensuring that there are enough women on the board. At least during my time there wasn't. I don't know whether now it's different. If it's different, congratulations to the government for doing it. But the fact is, again, because it says only one independent woman,
You'll only have that one.
you'll have that one. Why is it? Because again, you're ticking the box.
Yeah.
You're not really internalizing
So it's compliance.
this.
It's compliance.
Exactly. You are ticking the box. You're not really going in deep. Why not go in deeper to find out why there should be only one woman? And again, I come across this quite often. A lot of people ask me for names of women who could come on the board, but they want women who have only been in the C-suite. Now, what happens is, not that many women are still in the C-suite. So I don't have that many names. The C-suite women all have 6 to 7 listed companies. Okay? They are inundated with offers.
Yeah.
But there are amply good women below that. They don't get offers and they are willing. They are willing, they'll do a good job, they will read up the papers, they will come with suggestions. Give them a chance.
Yeah.
It's a question of taking a chance on them. But it's very difficult for us to get across this, that even though this woman wasn't in the C-suite, she's still very good. Some of them take my word for it because they believe in me. Most of them don't. But I would really make a request, that for all the companies that are over here, it's important for them to please recognize that there is a lot of talent out there. They just need to give it a space for it to, show up.
This is not just a problem in India. It's a universal problem. It's a universal challenge. How's the tech world dealing with this now that you're part of the tech world and now that you're part of a global corporation? How different is it?
I think it is very different because one of the things that I was very impressed with, at least in Salesforce, is that before I could even interview somebody, I was asked to take a training on unconscious bias. And I said, well, I've been a woman and I've been a woman who's risen from the ranks. I'm sure, 100% sure I don't have bias. Why do I need to take a training for it? And they said, nothing doing. That's the norm. You have to be trained.
Did you pass?
So, I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Even though we say that we don't have bias, we do. Because when they asked me to write down the list of questions I would ask a female candidate and the list of questions that I'd ask a male candidate, they were entirely different. I did not pass, and that made me very aware of the fact that all of us have biases. All of us. It doesn't matter whether we are men or women, whether we are high up there or just joined. It doesn't matter. We all have biases and we need to be made aware of it. Now, once you are aware of it, you're a much better person.
Yeah.
Because then you are much more, much more prepared for the way that you are going to approach this so as to ensure you're giving a level playing field. I was just talking to another company where they've just finished a whole round of interviews for their yearly promotions. And one of the women who was leading one of these boards, she was telling me that whenever there was a woman on the brink as to whether the board was half and half, whether should be promoted or not, shouldn't be promoted, the question that would be asked is, kar legi? And whenever there was a man who was in the same position, the statement would be kar lega.
Yeah, yeah.
So kar legi or kar lega, there's a very big difference.
Yeah.
Very, very big difference. And that is where we need to understand that the bias works in. That is where you have to be very conscious of what you are saying. Okay?
Well, and I think that's a very important, the question mark often gets attached when you're talking about the roles that women can play. I want to end by asking you, for all the people who are watching us here and who are watching us on TV and online, to young women who are entering the workforce, what are the Arundhati Bhattacharya commandments that you will leave us with?
That's a tough one. The only commandment that I have is that today it's a very different world from the world that we came into. Okay, it's far more competitive, but more than competitive, it's a very uncertain world. And in an uncertain world, the only thing that keeps you relevant is if you are continuously learning and giving. So, those two things cannot take a backseat. You have to continuously keep learning, continuously be aware of the situation around you. And that, should become second nature. That you are automatically picking up things as they evolve. Because that's what is going to ensure your relevance. And that's the only way.
Are you an AI specialist now?
I won't say I'm an AI specialist, but if you ask me, there are 3 ranks of creating agents, and we had to at least be at the 3rd rank. The company made it mandatory for us to attend company-wide training meetings. So I am at that stage, so I can create an agent if you want me to.
Thank you very much. I will take you up on that offer, Arundhati Bhattacharya. What a fabulous evening it is to have you join us. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to Arundhati Bhattacharya. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you, Mrs. Bhattacharya, for taking us through those pearls of wisdom and what women need to do to stay in the workforce. And thank you, Shireen, for steering us through that conversation. Now, if you would like to take this conversation forward, please scan the QR code on the LED screens and join the Future Female Forward community. The QR code is on your screen for you to scan. And moving on, our next conversation takes the evening into a more honest and necessary space. Because when we talk about women and leadership, the question is no longer whether talent exists. It clearly does. The harder question is, why does opportunity still not move at the same pace? And the answer is often simpler than we admit. Advancement is rarely shaped by talent alone. It is shaped by access. Access to sponsorships, access to stretch roles, access to capital, influence, informal networks, and the rooms where decisions are often made long before they are formally announced. That is what makes this next conversation so important. We request Shireen to please join us back on stage to take this conversation forward. And now to explore power, access, and what it really takes to move women forward at scale, please welcome our distinguished panelists, Vibha Padalkar, CEO, HDFC Life; N. Suresh, Chief Operating Officer, HSBC India; Avinash Satwalekar, President, Franklin Templeton Asset Management India; Anant Goenka, Vice Chairman, RPG Group and President, FICCI; and Jyoti Vich, Director General, FICCI.
Thank you very much, Arundhati. Ladies and gentlemen, as we said, that Future Female Forward is all about inclusion. It's about breaking boundaries. And very often the feedback that we got from people was that, look, it creates a distance when you have people up on stage there. So we decided that we're going to have these conversations and do a larger brainstorm and have all of our guests here with us. And I do want to thank each one of you for being here with us this evening. It truly means a lot. Vibha, I want to start by talking to you. And if I'd request you to stand up, please, so that we can have you facing our audience. For those of you who don't know Vibha, well, she is one of the formidable women leaders that we have in the country. She's been leading HDFC Life now for, what is it, over 8 years. 8 years. And of course, I want to first start with your own journey. A chartered accountant, you were in London, you decided to move back to India, get into the financial services space. What has been the question that you've been asked the most? What have been the assumptions that have been made about you that you've had to encounter and shatter?
So I think the shatter bit, I'll start with that. I've never worked towards shattering anything. I've just worked towards what interests me, excites me, giving it a good shot, and results are what they are. So it's never been corner office by this, some other goals. I just didn't have them. But I did have my Monday morning test that the day I feel, I'm not itching to go by Sunday night and the family is like switched off with me. If that's not happening, then I need to ask why. Otherwise, everything's fine. Never negotiated my pay, never negotiated the size of my cabin, just focused in terms of, am I excited with what I'm doing? So that's really been,
I want to pause there because, I say this as well. I've never negotiated my salary. I've never negotiated a cabin. I don't even have a cabin, by the way. I pretty much spend my time walking around in the newsroom because I enjoy that. But that's a very woman thing to do. And in our telling this story, do we also normalize the fact that it's okay for women to not accept what the men get?
Yes, possibly. So it's a fine balance of how much do you get pushed. But I think in organizations, if you've spent a fair bit of time or some time, people know the breaking point that she will just walk with no negotiations. So you better be fair. So actually, it turns at some point in time, the tide turns, that they're being overly cautious, that are you okay? Are you happy? Are you vested because you're just not negotiating? Yeah. But yes, I think we also tend to normalize. We also say it's okay, that's not what I was after and so on. And then do feel lousy at some point in time that did I get shortchanged? So yes, I think it is a balance. Yeah. So I don't want to make a virtue of it. Yeah. It's just that that's not the key driver. Yeah.
And the Monday morning test, I think, is a good one. That if you're excited about going into work, then I guess it tells you that what you're doing is the right thing for you. But Vibha, as a leader today, as somebody who's leading an organization that has both men and women and across India, Have you done things differently to the point that Arundhati Bhattacharya was also making about creating ecosystems that measure but also look at outcomes? Have you done things differently to ensure that you actually bring more women in, you bring down attrition, etc.?
Absolutely, and actually COVID helped a lot. I think ma'am made a mention of that. There was an inflection point during COVID wherein the realization that women could work from home and be very productive. Otherwise, there's this whole infrastructure issue of her getting out of her home and delivering the hours that are required. And sometimes one can't define how many hours or in what working conditions, safety and so on outside the office. So suddenly this opened up. I want to take an example of our agents, our feet on, they're not my employees, but now we have 250,000 agents. Now, the phenomenal number is 1/3 of them are women. And in terms of that's in the stock, but in terms of the flow, it's a much higher number. So 40%. So I'm able to recruit women from smaller towns, say a Hubli, and she's able to give me time working from home. It doesn't matter where she's working from. She's able to create her own community in terms of respect. The brand is a good brand to be associated with. And suddenly she becomes an income wage earner. She has a Facebook page to say, I'm a financial consultant. And life's very different that she's experienced. And she had her education. It was, she kind of meandered through responsibilities and so on. And she's liking what she's seeing. So actually COVID and work from home has opened up phenomenal. And so we are learning and moving towards not just Gen Z, that's a given, but even women, older women, women who have quit and want to come back. We are really targeting, and we've been fairly successful, our own women. So we have 38,000 employees, our own women who've left, want to come back, other women in especially BFSI. I think that's working very well. Productivity is higher. My insurance persistency is higher. Attrition rate is any metric that you see over the last 5-6 years since COVID, every metric is better as a cohort.
Well, that kudos to you and to your team for ensuring that. But Vibha, I also want to understand from you, insurance in India continues to be a sector which is hugely underpenetrated. But what is it like when we look at the data? I mean, how are the women doing as far as insurance is concerned? And how is the industry treating women?
So slightly complicated because we have about currently 28 lakh customers who are currently in force, as we call it, and 40 lakh since inception. We are a 25-year company. We want more women. Clearly, it should represent the population. So 50% of our customers need to be women. And that's where it gets complicated. Women often switch off. They're not asking to be seated at the table. I'm generalizing, but very often either the father or the husband or someone else, some other male is still making those decisions. Women start making decisions if she is single or she's a divorcee or something else, some other situation forcing her to do. So younger women, fairly savvy. Older women is what I've said. So biases again, the same biases wherein we actually have a training wherein if our employee or the financial consultant goes into a home because an appointment has been given and he says, Saab nahi hai, So we actually have that to say that you cannot do that. The appointment is with the woman. She's taken it. Why are you asking where the Saab is? Those sorts of unconscious and even conscious biases because the guy he doesn't know how to talk to her as a customer. So there's an entire ecosystem that we are consciously working on. We've tried to launch women-centric products, not really taken off. Products that you can start and stop, products where you have higher levels of certain kind of diseases that you're worried about, and so on. But at the same time, I've met a woman who is married into a very rich family, and a customer, and I met her, and I said, why did you take a term policy in your name? And she does some advertising work and so on. So she said, yes, I'm married into a very rich family, but I want to leave some money to my kids from mom. And that is that kind of a pride to say it is important for my kids to realize that it's not about the amount of money, but it's the gesture. We need a lot more of that happening, but I think it starts off in schools in terms of financial education, that it's as important as anything else that we learn. Very, very critical.
As I asked Ms. Bhattacharya as well, what is the one thing that you would say to women who are entering the workforce, women who are navigating the decision on whether to stay on or opt out because of maternity or marriage? What is it that you would say to them?
I would say you're not the first woman to have a baby. You're not the first woman to look after your parents. You're not going to be the last. So find that little village that will help. Don't be afraid to seek help from whichever counter it comes. Don't be such a try to be such a perfectionist that it's my way or the highway. It's okay if your husband is around with pizzas around, but looking after your kid. Don't give up to say that, no, it's only my way, look, XYZ is happening, and you take the entire load. We tend to do that. Yeah. But I absolutely agree that, giving up, we make it a virtue. We are martyrs, but actually in a way, that's the easiest thing to do. Hanging in there is really required. It's a lot more difficult. But see, kids grow up. Kids will leave home. And suddenly, you'll again regret, left with just a bag of regrets to say, oh, look at that person. She's doing so well. So who's to blame in all of this? I think that's what I would say, that this will pass. Take a back seat, but hang in there. Doesn't matter if you're from a front office, a lot more demanding role to a more boring back office. It's okay, but at least you're in the system. Yeah. Getting in because of the technology change, regulatory changes is a lot more difficult. So I would just say, do not throw in the towel.
Don't throw in the towel. Cobwebs are okay. Pizzas occasionally are just fine. Don't worry about it. Vibha, thanks so much. May I request you to take your seat as well. Avi, I wanna come to you, and I'm gonna request you to turn around and face all the women. Have you seen so many women in a room before?
I have. Yes, I have, especially on this trip that I've been on.
Yes, and I want to talk about this trip, and I wanted you to explain this. He's been driving through India, meeting women. What is this about, Avi?
So it started with, we'd done the drive already. So we did this in 30 days, drove from Kanyakumari all the way up to Srinagar with the sole purpose of doing investor education and bringing more financial literacy. And the idea behind it, so the drive was called Change the Soch. And the reason for that is you need to change the way we think, and that's not just women. Women definitely need to change the way they think, but given a lot of the conversations we've had so far, that is happening. But it's also the way men think, because men can be the biggest champions. And if there's one example, I think that, or one commonality I've seen across both what Vibha was saying as well as what Arundhati was saying, is that support mechanism is critical. But anyway, so this drive was more about trying to get more women to start taking ownership of their own financial future and their own financial independence.
What surprised you the most as you made your way from Kanyakumari to Kashmir?
I think we know that India is very diverse and that Bharat is very unique and different compared to India, right? But I think what did surprise me a lot was that how quickly those things change. So at almost every 50 kilometers, you had a new culture, you had a new language, you had new cuisines, you had new thinking processes. So I think the changes that we see, I mean, there's no one answer that fits everything. So I think, and I'm trying to preempt what your last question is going to be, is that what is that one thing? There's not like one thing. I know, but I'm trying to preempt that to a certain extent. But I do think that it is a difference. And I think that is, this whole myth that, women don't get certain things or women do things much better than other things. It's a myth. There is a commonality and a generality in everything. And so I think that was what was different, was that almost every 50 kilometers, and that's a lot of 50 kilometers and 4,100 kilometers from the south to the north, but seeing a lot of that change was incredible.
And he was self-driving, by the way. He was not being driven. He was actually driving his way through India. But change the soch. What is it that you want to change on the back of the insights that you've now discovered at the end of your journey?
So I think a lot of it is about thinking, right? So this self-doubt. So there's a couple of things that we learned right throughout, right? One was that there is a difference in terms of knowledge and awareness that we need to fix. There is a difference in terms of how women perceive themselves and their capabilities. And there is a difference in terms of, I'd say, that confidence that you get and translating that into conviction. So what are we trying to change? We're trying to change the fact that, the most common thing that we'd heard was, well, I don't like investing, I don't understand investing, and investing is risky. And some permutation of all those three reasons, right? And what the point we were trying to make is that it is not complicated, right? Yes, we try to make it sound complicated just so that we feel important. But that's financial services for you in general. It is not complicated. So the idea that you spend time understanding what is going to impact you in the future. See, whether you decide to make those decisions. One of the reasons that we got was, and I think, Vibha, you touched on this, is that fathers decided, brothers decided, and pretty much any other male living within 5 kilometers of you has decided what your financial future should look like. If you're comfortable with that, I'm not questioning that. What I'm saying is that you should be part of that discussion and be able to contribute to that discussion. Not say that I have no interest. Not say that I don't understand it. Because it is not complicated at all. Trust me, it is not complicated. It is very simple.
And it's not even true. The women are the ones who are managing balance sheets at home. They're managing the budget, so it's not even true. And yet, they don't even recognize that. We don't acknowledge that as well. So, what is it that you would like to do at the end of this? Is there a goal? Is there a target that you've set?
So actually, a lot of it was more about awareness, right? It was trying to create that understanding. And I think Hitendra mentioned this right at the beginning, was that try to start that conversation, right? And in a lot of the things, so we would be addressing a room full of 500 farmers. Then we had 1,800 odd students. Then we had, it was just a lot of, and if we can convert some portion of them and become more independent, or even start to think about their own financial independence, or question that, and move away from that status quo, I think that would be a job well done. Now, in terms of targets, since we are finance guys at the end of the day, we do have a target, right? We've got a 5% or 6% penetration rate of mutual funds in the country. If we can move that up to even 10%, which is still below where life insurance is, right? I think that would be a very good target to start with.
That is an ambitious target and a target, as you point out, that many people are working towards. But Avi, we're talking about having conversations with women. But if I were to ask you about having conversations with men, because they're not just part of the problem, but they also need to be part of the solution. What is the conversation that men need to have?
So I think it's the same thing. It's when we coined the phrase change the soch, it was not targeted just at women. It was targeted, a lot of unconscious bias that goes in, right? And we all have that. It is, so in a lot of the cases we had, in a lot of the investor programs that we did, we had men sitting in there. And so I'd ask them, do you disagree with anything that we're trying to talk about, and would you do this? And they're saying, you know what, we never thought of it, right? Now, these are in villages, in towns, right? B30 locations. So they've never thought of it, which is that if you don't think about it, you're not going to change. Or to borrow another phrase, which is, if you're not measuring it, you're not going to change it. So I think a lot of the conversations we had, and I'll give you a perfect example, right? So when we were in Gwalior, that was the first cantonment, the army cantonment that we did, right? And half the room, so there was at least about 300 people. Half the room were all the Jawans in Gwalior, and we had insisted that the other half be their wives. And yes, a lot of them, all wives came with their kids and everything. And when you hear them, I mean, you ask the question, okay, how many of you were involved? Not very many hands go up. Some do. And the ones that did go up were the senior officers' wives, educated, who already had their own careers. So that's a positive. Right? But the men, I said, would you not want to get the opinions? And a lot of them said, no, we already do in some way, shape, or form. Now, of course, when you ask for confirmation, that doesn't really come through. But that's where that thinking has to change. That's where that thinking has to, and that's the conversation you have to have. One of the things we also did was students. And the idea being, catch them young. And the students is a mix. So a lot of the questions that were coming from the girls, and then an equal number came from the boys. And I said, what do you think about changing? He says, that's not a question for us at all. We don't think that there's a difference. So there is hope.
Well, there is hope, and we have to have hope. Avi, many, many thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here with us. Anand, requests you to turn around as well as the man who's heading FICCI, and we just had the findings of the CNBC-TV18 FICCI survey being revealed. You know, as somebody who is leading an organization, but as somebody who's also leading an industry body today, is this an issue that is being seen with a sense of urgency? Is it an issue that is a boardroom priority? How are leaders looking at this?
No, I think the survey that came out gave a lot of good insights. In fact, I'd say it was a fairly positive survey with high scoring on policies, high scoring on return to home behaviors and recommendations around that space. And there were few areas of improvement, which was particularly relating to leadership, share of women in leadership, and the attrition of women between 20 to 30 years of age. But certainly, I think it is a priority. There's still a long way to go. And I think one of the main things are developing a realization on the importance of diversity across the board. And a particular example that comes to my mind is a story that I heard from Professor Damodaram on valuation from NYU University. Yeah. And he was talking about when we think of valuation, we think that the right skill that we need is that we need a finance expert. And when you look at startups and tech companies, of course, you do have finance experts doing DCF valuation, but you also need a large part of it is on storytelling. Yeah. You look at Uber, they're a ride-sharing company, taxi sharing company, and they've positioned themselves as a technology company, and therefore their multiples and valuations are at billions of dollars in terms of size. So that storytelling capability can easily come with a non-finance expert. It could be a literature expert, it could be any other kind of background, and that combination is far more powerful than having two specific, finance people in the team. So it's not only gender diversity, but I'd say all kinds of diversity. And that realization that diversity is important is something which is very important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All kinds of diversity is important, but I want to specifically touch upon India's manufacturing base. And what we are seeing, and that's positive actually, is that there are women now on the factory floor. In fact, we have all women factories in the FMCG space, including even in the auto space. What are you seeing there, and what do you believe you have, for instance, been able to do to bring more women on board? What changes have you been able to incorporate to ensure that they stay on in manufacturing?
No, absolutely. We're seeing a big change. We are in the tire manufacturing business, and I know that about 30 years ago, we have an old factory in Bhandup, and when we recruited people, we would say it has to be male, weighing X number of kgs. They have to lift, and being at 5'8" plus height, and so on. And there was a lot of manual work. Today, times have changed. Our new factories are far more automated. Yeah. Our target is to have 50% women. In our Gujarat factory, we are at about 20%. In Tamil Nadu, it is 30% women doing the same job that our people in our factory in Bhandup used to do, which were all men. So to that extent, times have changed. The stories that you hear are much more touching. When I walk around the factory shop floor, I speak to a lot of the women, ask them about their lives, and they often say that there was some amount of resistance from their own families and their own biases that they have, where they overcame that, came to work, and when we bring the families of these women and ask them to see what they're doing, they have tears in their eyes, seeing with so much pride that what their daughters are doing at work. So absolutely, India is changing, and it's a big opportunity for women on the shop floor.
Well, it certainly is. And, to that point, I remember having a conversation with the CEO, and one of the things that they decided to do was bring the mother-in-laws into the office and get them to buy into what the daughter-in-laws were doing. And they saw a dramatic change in the number of women who came in, as well as the attrition rates dropping. But, smart manufacturing, and we're now talking about Industry 4.0, AI, and so on and so forth. Do you believe that this is, in fact, going to be the big accelerator to bridge the gap? Because as you were pointing out, you needed men who weighed a certain amount and 5 feet 8 inches, and today you don't need that anymore because the robots are doing the work for you. Do you believe technology, and as we move faster and faster to AI, will be the big leveler?
Absolutely. So as I shared, it is certainly a change that we are seeing. Now there's far more button pressing in machines that you see, and it's much simpler. There's very little physical movement that is there, and that will only get easier and easier. Just to give you an example, our leadership team went to China about 2 months ago. In our average factory, we need about 2,000 people. The same factory in China needed about 600 people. And of course, it's far more automated. You have many, people just kind of doing physical or supervisory work in that way. So you can have a lot more women. Of course, it throws up the issue of jobs as well.
And that is a whole other debate and a whole other issue that we will need to grapple with. Anand Goenka, many, many thanks. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Suresh, our partners in crime for the last 4 years, HSBC has, of course, been with us shoulder to shoulder as we've taken this message across India and also to the world. By the way, Future Female Forward has been a conversation starter in Davos at the World Economic Forum as well. Suresh, what do you make of everything that you've heard today? And, I walked into the HSBC office a couple of weeks ago, and I was surprised. All I saw were women from the front office to security, and that was really heartening to see. So the change is very visible.
Yeah, thanks for having us here, and I think it's an honor to be here. I think we've done quite a bit of strategic kind of levers which have kind of come into action. We always felt that there was a myth or maybe people's understanding to say certain types of roles could be done by men, certain types of roles could be done by women. And one of the key areas that we really transformed was our security forces. Right? As a bank, we do have securities deployed across all our branches and offices. And we said, okay, why have the same old men standing there and then trying to guard? And it's been a real pleasant surprise. We've got females there. We've got women of various kind of backgrounds who have come in, and some of them are doing their first job. Some of them have done their NDAs. They have a whole lot of aspirations to grow and to do a whole lot of things. So we said, why not use this as a platform to bring them in, to nurture their talent. And we've also helped them to go ahead and apply for certain of their UPSC exams and others. And it's a question of whether they're going to make it or not. That's a different thing. But I think the whole experience and the fact that they can actually think of a career of, say, guarding banks, which are supposedly having a lot of golden money, and then feeling you're part of that, I think has been a fantastic story. And I think we just wanted to start it from where people enter. Yeah. That's the starting point for our customers. And if they see that difference, hopefully the whole organization will also see the difference.
Well, I can say that it's something that really does hit you in the face as soon as you walk in. So what's next now on the back of all the learnings over the last 4 years that we have had together on Future Female Forward? Where do you see HSBC take this forward?
See, like any other organization, we also started small. We started putting our policies in place. We said, okay, this is an area where we want to start focusing. But I think we kind of quickly realized that you could have the best of policies for the women, but the enablement has to happen. And that enablement can happen only when people who made the policies, so the people who are responsible for ensuring that the policy adherence happens, also start playing a part. We've seen in a lot of cases where the usage of the best policies weren't there, right? So then we started to craft saying that what is it that's coming in the way of some of those policies? Because most organizations feel that I have a great policy and I'm done. To me, that's a starting point. That's what is where the reflections are going to start. Where are people going to say whether it's working or not working? All ears have to be on. We have to be very patient and listen to the feedback that's coming our way. Sometimes we should not hesitate to change the policy completely. And we've started seeing that work on the ground. And at least in some of our leadership positions, we're not limited to the security guards outside. We've taken it far ahead, like the entire kind of a trading floor that we manage, and HSBC India is a large trading hub, is actually managed by women. I have my friend Anita who manages it beautifully. She's not here today. So these are the areas where normally we would think that the trading floor belongs to the men, and that's what you see in the Wall Streets and others, but that's not true anymore. So we're making those changes. Like 70% of my DRs are now women. Nice. And so the men have a complex now. So they are talking about diversity. So that's a good conversation to have. Me included, it'll be 4. So it's fine. But I think, and hopefully maybe in the next few sessions that you do here, the next CEO could be a woman.
Yes, we look forward to that. We've got a whole bunch of young women who are ready to make India proud, and we will, of course, showcase their achievements. But Suresh, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Jyoti, may I request you to join us, because Jyoti has been instrumental in the FICCI survey, been our partner in putting all of the data together, because as you've heard from all of our leaders here today, if you measure it, then you know what the reality is, and you can actually prescribe measures to take care of that. Jyoti, on the back of the data that we've already discussed, what do you believe the next steps are? What do you believe is the absolute imperative?
So I think the data, our president also, just talked about it, that there has been improvement. But I think a lot of improvement is also on the back of a lot of compliances that have come in place. And I think a lot of government policies supported by the private sector action is going to really help in accelerating a lot of process on the ground. And like I think Arundhati ma'am did mention about the board positions, for example, and how the whole scenario really changed, post the change that was incorporated in the Companies Act. And I think at that time we were not really in favor, and we thought that perhaps this is something which was pushed. But I think the data now shows a lot of improvement. So I think it's action on the ground, plus some of the compliances, which does help in moving the needle. But I think there's also a lot of consciousness that is happening. Government is working, private sector is coming forward, and I think that's really going to make a lot of difference going forward. And the measurement that we are doing is really going to show how the improvement and the percentage of the improvement that is going forward.
Large companies are different. MSMEs have a very different story to tell as well. How different is the picture when you go below the top, the Nifty and the Sensex companies?
So exactly, I think the ESG parameters where the companies do have to report, I think the consciousness is now very high. With the MSMEs, perhaps, it's slightly slower, but you do see on the startup front, for example, I think there are a lot more women, in action out there. So it's something which has to percolate down. Perhaps I think the benefit has to be showcased. So therefore, one of the initiatives that we started 2 years back, Dr. Anish Shah was the president, and I think he took women, gender diversity as one of the priority areas. So we started an award on women in workplace, much to kind of support the data that you saw, and trying to really recognize the companies that are doing good work in terms of women in promoting women in workplace. So that was to help other companies understand what's really happening, perhaps the benefit that will come to them as well, and maybe emulate it in their own way. And this is something which comes from at a larger macro level when we're talking about Viksit Bharat. we're talking about, bringing more female workers into the economy. So that's one benefit. But the other aspect, and I think where companies and government both are now working towards, is the whole care ecosystem that we talked about. So care ecosystem will help women come out and join the economic force, plus also care ecosystem will create more jobs for women. Yeah. So I think that's a prosperity cycle that can kick in, and a lot more companies can start, coming into that fold.
Absolutely. That is both an opportunity for women and a need as well. Jyoti, many, many thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, as you heard from our wonderful speakers here this evening, progress is being made, but there is need for concerted action. The conversations continue, and I'm going to ask Arundhati to come back out and take the evening forward. Thank you once again to Avi, Jyoti, Vibha, Suresh, and Anant for joining us. And thank you very much, Arundhati Bhattacharya, for joining us here again, and we look forward to seeing a lot more of you.
Thank you to each and every one of you for giving us those insightful perspectives, and thank you, Shireen, for taking us through that conversation. As we move into the next segment of the evening, we turn from conversation to action. In Delhi, Saki Seed by IMFA was introduced in partnership with Future Female Forward as a focused commitment to women micro-entrepreneurs built around three essentials: funding, mentorship, and access to networks. Delhi was where the partnership was launched, and Mumbai is where the roadmap begins. Tonight, for the first time, we lay out what Saki Seed will look like in action, how the initiative will work, and what the pathway looks like, and what it will take to build not just individual success stories, but a stronger ecosystem around women entrepreneurs. But before we get into what comes next, let's take a quick look at where it all began in Delhi.
What begins as a small business can become something far greater. Today at CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, we take the next leap in partnership with IMFA's Saki Seed initiative, a commitment to back women at the grassroots, where resilience becomes enterprise. By identifying, funding, and mentoring women micro-entrepreneurs. The journey begins with a 1-month application window, open to 200 women entrepreneurs. Women between 20 and 50 with family income under 6 lakh per annum and independently running a business for over 2 years can apply. Applications will be onboarded, evaluated by the jury, and guided by the IMFA Advisory Committee, with CNBC-TV18 as the independent third party. Selected entrepreneurs will receive ₹5 lakh support in 2 phases of funding. XIMB as knowledge partner will conduct structured mentorship, practical workshops, and business guidance for growth and sustainability. Because when women lead enterprises, communities thrive and the nation grows. CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward with IMFA Saki Seed. Powering women, building businesses, shaping the future.
And that's the action being taken forward. And to take that conversation forward, Shireen, I would like to invite you back on stage for this conversation and to lay out the complete roadmap of this initiative. Please welcome members of our advisory committee, Chetna Gala Sinha, the founder, Mandeshi Foundation and Mandeshi Mahila Bank. We've got Neha Juneja, the co-founder and CEO of India P2P. Shaifalika Panda, the founder and CEO Bansidhar and Ila Panda Foundation. And Dr. Sutapa Sati, the Dean School of Sustainability, XIM University, the initiative's knowledge partner, providing the institutional framework to measure and build on Saki Seed's impact as it grows. Please give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, as we promised, Future Female Forward is not just about conversations, it's about action, and we're so proud that we're taking our conversations to action. Thank you very much to Shefalika. Thank you very much to each one of our members of our advisory committee. And I can tell you, we've been having rigorous calls. We had an hour-plus long call deciding and discussing what the parameters would be, what the eligibility criteria should be before we actually hand out these grants to the micro entrepreneurs that we're hoping to create. So Shefalika, over to you. Now we're pretty much at rollout stage. So what should people expect from this program?
Well, thank you, Shireen. And first of all, I'd like to thank the members of the advisory committee. The AV very quickly did show you the intent behind the Saki Seed initiative. It is about highlighting, the credit that is not available easily to the women entrepreneurs in the rural areas or the credit micro entrepreneurs. And what is now in store for us, that we will be announcing the applications by the end of the month. It'll be a month-long process during which we do an outreach program for people to apply, for women to apply. And it was going to be based on the parameters that we showed. We are looking for women within a certain income level. She must have showed us a certain proof of concept where she has worked for 2 years, but we're not holding her to having any formal registrations or, formal books of accounts, because what we need to understand is these are women who are invisible to the system. Yeah. So we're trying to bring them into the system. We're trying to showcase that they are capable, they have the domain skills, but they do not have the business skills. And that's where we bring in our partner XIMB, who is going to do a mentorship program with them on business acumen, on finance discipline, on the compliances, and of course the tech skills required for business.
Dr. Shutapa, how excited are the students at XIMB, because they're going to be working with these women who are selected for the grants?
Very, very excited. I told you, I sent a small photograph, and really the excitement there. And we are really happy to be partnering with the non-financial component of the structured mentorship. Also, as a teacher, really also important is the documentation for the 2 years that with our partner we are going to do. I'm looking forward for some, real learning coming out of that. Yeah. And if that could be replicated as a model, yes, and a way forward for us. So very, very happy. And thank you. It's been a long partnership with...
and thank you for coming on board as our knowledge partners on this. Chetna ji, of course, she runs India's first all-women's bank, Mandeshi Mahila Bank. And of course, the credit gap continues to exist. What have been some of the important learnings, insights along the journey of starting Mandeshi and where we are today at this point in time, Chetna ji?
Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. And actually, I would say like this whole Saki Seed thing. India has a very successful narrative as far as digitization is concerned, right? Everywhere in the villages, you will see women selling vegetables, will have a QR code, and there would be a transfer. But that success of SHG is there. But that success does not come to individual women entrepreneur. Why? Because no credit score, no collateral. Nobody is ready. These women are courageous. I always say that when women start business, everything starts from no from them. Household, family says, no, you won't be able to do it. No network, bankers will say no loan, no credit score, no collateral. But I said, like when I was coming here, I was talking to women, and when I told about this whole concept of Saki Seeds, who are going to invest in women. You know what our women said, Shireen? They said, we had the courage. They have shown the courage. But capital never showed the courage.
I couldn't agree more with you on that.
Capital never showed the courage. So I say that Saki Seed is the beginning of showing the courage from capital side. And I'm sure that, Saki Seed will also teach the supply side that there is digitization, there are soft collaterals. Even women do not own property, they can create wealth and invest in that wealth. Country is definitely going to grow. And I would say, Shireen, another thing is, everyone we say that it will take 135 years to close the gender gap, right? Yeah. World Economic Forum, we say that. How many of us are going to wait for that? No, right? Anyone, would you like to wait for 135 years? No, tell at least no now. Yeah? So our women do not want to wait for 135 years. They will create jobs with Saki Seeds. Thank you so much, Shefalika.
No,
Thank you for joining
Chetna ji.
us.
Thank you for joining our advisory committee and for all the wonderful work that you've been doing at Mandeshi. Neha, thank you very much for joining us. Well, congratulations to you. She's a new mom and she's decided to take time off and be here with us. So Neha, thank you so much. We truly appreciate that. And I know when I reached out to you and you said that I've just had a baby and I'm not so sure about this, but you finally came on board, so we're really grateful for you for your time. What is it that you hope this is going to be able to result in?
So I just want to, first of all, thank you. And I am very happy to be here. The baby is 3.5 weeks, but it's very important to be here. I am here. And I want to give a little flavor to what credit for women does. And first of all, what I'm doing is, in a large part inspired by Chetna. I mean, I've followed Chetna's journey for so many years, and I think there are so many others like me who are working to give women the credit they deserve. Simply, this has been an amazing role model.
And
I have to say it right here.
She does deserve a big round of applause. I mean, she has been a trailblazer. She has been a trailblazer in so many ways.
So just to give you a flavor, first of all, when women actually get access to credit, women outperform men. If you look at the data on any of the credit bureaus in India, women have higher CIBIL scores or higher credit scores than men, despite lack of collateral, despite lower incomes and whatever other parameters go into that credit scoring, to tell you that women are actually better borrowers. There are a bunch of other metrics that tell you it's actually very profitable to invest in women, but somehow we don't follow the data.
Yeah.
This is the data part of it. I wanted to share why I am doing what I'm doing besides this inspiration right here. The fact that in my previous avatar, I used to sell clean cook stoves that replace matti ka chulas. We worked with a lot of rural women, a lot of self-help groups. And you would see that the moment a woman starts earning money, her respect within her household goes up. You're able to demand more of your family. You're able to demand more of the men in your life, which is absolutely important. And I mean this with compassion, not to diss on any gender or men
absolutely.
here. But we do need to demand, we need more independent men in our lives. Women are becoming more independent. More women are becoming more independent.
Yes.
Men are not becoming independent at the same scale.
Yes, we do need more independent men in our lives. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You need to know what's in the kitchen inventory. You need to be able to take care of yourselves. You need to be able to take care of the baby. You need to be independent in all of those things. And I mean that with compassion. It's necessary for all of us to have, thrive, for our country to have higher per capita incomes and so. And just enabling a woman to earn more, earn better really changes the status quo. It has such quick and amazing social transformation that is, I've seen it so many times, and I cannot imagine doing anything else with my life other than to, help move this forward, which is why this program is so important, because it's not just talk, it's money and action.
Yes.
And that's what we need more of, along with more independent men. But this will also lead to more independent men.
Yes, we certainly hope so. So, Shefalika, the call out to people, please, if you have networks that you're plugged into, let them know about the Saki Seed grant. Applications are going to be open and we will be wetting those applications. Shefalika, you
I just want to say one last thing, that, supporting women micro-entrepreneurs is not just about economic empowerment. It is the sustainable journey for India's $5 trillion economy. And the more people and the more stakeholders that we can get on board, we can really make this a powerful movement right here on Future Female Forward.
And we look forward to that. So here's to capital having more courage and to more independent men. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to Shefalika, Chetna Galasina, Neha and Dr. Shuddha. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening.
Thank you to each and every one of you for taking conversation and making it action. And that's what Future Female Forward is all about. Now, if you would like to be a part of the conversation this evening, scan the QR code on the LED screens and join the Future Female Forward community. The code is on your screen and you can scan it. And we move now from corporate leadership to civic leadership, and in a city like Bombay, this is leadership tested in real time. Mumbai moves fast, demands constantly, and leaves very little room for pause. Leading a city like this takes more than authority. It takes clarity, resilience, and the ability to stay calm in complexity. Now, to lead this conversation forward, request Shireen Bhan to please make her way back on stage today. And now joining us is a leader who knows exactly what calm under pressure looks like. Please welcome Mumbai's first woman municipal commissioner, Ashwini Bhide. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ashwini Bhide.
We do have history right here on stage. In 160 years, the BMC has never had a woman at the helm, never had a woman at the top. Ashwini Bhide, thank you so much for breaking the ceiling finally. You know, was that something that you were thinking of when you finally sat in that chair? Did this thought occur to you that I'm making history?
Initially, it didn't, because as a women member of Indian Administrative Service, I always thought that, okay, I've always have been on the equal footing. But many people started telling me that you are the first woman commissioner. Initially, I felt, what's the big deal in it? But then I realized that in 160 years, if not a single woman has been made commissioner, then there is certainly something.
There is certainly a big deal in that. There is a very big deal in that. But, you know, as you've navigated your way through the civil services, as you've navigated your way to the very top as far as the BMC is concerned, what have been some of the toughest challenges that you've had to encounter on account of your gender? And I know that there are challenges that civil servants face on account of, you know, the environment around us. But specific to your gender, what have been some of the biggest challenges you've had to face?
Frankly, Shireen, in Indian Administrative Service, we experience less of gender disparity, because being in the administrative service itself puts you little ahead of the race. And as far as IAS is concerned, women's presence has always been there.
Yes.
The percentage has now recently increased, but presence has always been there. And we have heard stories of many of our senior officers working their way up to
when will India see a woman cabinet secretary?
But yes, there is, and even Maharashtra took a lot of time to have its first women chief secretary. But many other states, there have been many women chief secretaries actually. So at times there is some kind of a glass ceiling, but if you look at the opportunities which the service provides, even to women officers, frankly, I have never experienced that kind of disparity or any different treatment by people. But yes, there were certain posts which were always, considered that women may not be able to perform on those posts.
Which posts were these?
Even the municipal commissioner post, for that matter, in very early days, even the collector's post, people thought that women won't be able to, perform. But then it has become a norm now. So I think it takes some time for people to understand that there's no difference. Finally, an administrator is an administrator in spite of the gender, and the performer won't have any gender as such. If there is a performer, that person would perform, but that understanding takes some time. And some of the posts which look that only men can handle them. Maybe the municipal commissioner's post is like that. Even MMRDA commissioner, for that matter. Housing boards, because these posts are they are considered that they have to handle many complex things which involves too much of engagement with people, political parties, the influential people in the community, and at times people feel that women may not be able to navigate through those troubled waters. So, but once you break that ceiling and once that myth is broken, then I think it becomes a normal thing. Then that time probably people would think, why even we had thought of that the women won't be able to accept that.
You're dealing with the large infrastructure projects in Mumbai. In fact, you're also called the metro woman. In India, the biggest problem with infrastructure is it just doesn't get done on time. There are time overruns, there are cost overruns. Is it good to have a woman in place to ensure that we actually get the job done?
If that is the case, then probably I must say that yes. But there are multiple reasons why infrastructure projects don't get on time. What is needed is a very focused kind of leadership for that. And at times people allow things to the providence, allow things to happen on their own. But maybe when I took over, because when I came in infrastructure, that was in 2008. And since then, I have been continuously working in urban infrastructure. And my own lesson was, unless you own it, unless you take responsibility of it, and don't look at it as a regular administrative thing, the projects won't move. And from that perspective, I worked on all these projects like the CEO of a private company who would always think of the cost and time overrun, and who would always think of the lost profit. In government companies, we don't think much about profit, but the cost and time overrun is something which we have to think about. And each and every problem which comes in the way needs to be dealt with immediately. And that dynamism in the decision making, I can't leave, I can't leave it to the next officer who takes over.
Yeah.
So I worked with that attitude, and that worked well. And most of the projects which I took over or I started, they got completed in a reasonable time frame. Not exactly on time, because there were multiple issues. So I think the women leadership brings that sense of accountability
and ownership.
That sense of ownership. And that makes a lot of difference.
We've got a lot of young people, young women here in this audience, and many who are watching us online and on TV. As someone who's navigated the civil services, what would you leave us with in terms of things that we should be mindful of? What have been some of your sort of, non-negotiables to help you, as you said, navigate the very tricky, often difficult waters? What would you leave us with?
Civil services, the kind of field you have to work in is always very chaotic, because there are too many noises, too many voices, and you have to pay attention to each one of them. And so around you there is always a chaos. So what you need to do is find a method in that madness. And to do that, you need to first listen to all the voices, all the noises, absorb them, and then try to understand what exactly is important, what exactly matters, which actually will find a way out. So if you don't listen to it, at times what happens, the chaos is so much that people stop listening to that. And they find their own way out to deal with it. But it doesn't work that way. So basically one has to be very, very patient. One has to be a good listener, understand what the problem is, and go in the details of that. And don't leave it to anyone. But one must understand that in this kind of administration, there is no one single and straightforward answer. There is no tailor-made solution. You have to find that solution, because there are multiple stakeholders, multiple viewpoints. One particular thing, somebody tells you a story, and then you think that yes, there is a truth in this story. You start acting on it, and then two other components or members would come and they will tell you a different story. So you have to be always mindful of that, what exactly, and the principle of natural justice needs to be followed thoroughly. You need to listen to all and then find a solution. Secondly, you need to work on the details, because the devil is in the details. You can't go basis the superficial information and make your decision. Second is, you need to always review your own decisions. There is no harm if you need to change your decisions. You need to look at the thing in a completely different perspective. There is no harm in that. So that you should be ready to. Don't be so harsh and hard on yourself as well as on the situation. And the most important part is taking ownership. Taking ownership, being accountable for what you are seeing. And the thing more important than this is being very, very honest and transparent. If you follow all these things, then probably you find the right way even among the chaos and find the solution to problems. And once you are a problem solver, then I think every issue in administration can be easily solved.
You know, as many of our speakers here this evening spoke of the perfection penalty that women often burden themselves with and society also burdens us with, you know, as you've navigated a very high achieving career with also managing, you know, your family and so on and so forth, what have been some of the challenges that you've had to administer and how did you
understands what exactly is your job, responsibilities on your job. If I am answerable to my job 24/7, then I need to have that kind of, you know, freedom and that kind of support from the family, which I had. But at the same time, one also needs to prioritize. Because there are moments when your office and your work becomes very important. That time you can't even pay attention to your family requirements. But there are moments when your family matters a lot and you can certainly keep office and the work demands slightly away. So that kind of prioritization has to be done, and what exactly you need in life, because you can't have best of
everything at all times.
So so you need to be fair, you need to be balanced with yourself also. We need to moderate our own expectations and then try to give justice to all. And sometimes, if there are failures, sometimes you commit mistakes, then you should be sympathetic to yourself.
Be sympathetic to yourself. I think that is a very important message that you're sending at Ashwini Bide. I want you to leave us with, perhaps, you know, give us an anecdote from all these years of working with politicians, or working with, you know, the who's who. What has been that one most interesting anecdote that you will leave us with, where you had to use all of your skills to sort of navigate through?
No, I don't think there is any one single thing, but I have been working in public life for past many years. I worked in rural areas, I worked in semi-urban areas and urban areas, and then a metropolis like Mumbai. And the kind of projects I have worked with, every time you need to convince people why we are doing a particular thing and in a particular way. So dealing with people, dealing with political representatives, dealing with non-governmental organization, dealing with civil society and the citizen groups, it has always been a very exciting journey, sometimes very frustrating, sometimes, you know, you just don't know how to deal with it. But every experience has been a learning experience. And there are many such occasions which I could narrate. But one particular thing I remember at this juncture, that when we were doing the first metro line, which is done by through a public-private partnership, but my responsibility was to make the right-of-way available to them. And making that right-of-way means clearing the road, clearing the space where the metro piers can come. And at one of the locations, there were multiple religious structures belonging to various religious communities were there. And they were occupying part of the road, which was, and they were supposedly, we wanted to remove them, at least partially. And then all kinds of, you know, the religious organizations came forward and they started fighting. I could convince some of them, but one particular religious structure was there, where one of the local ministers was very, very adamant that they won't change that. So I had to literally fight, and I said nothing doing, because only for this a small portion the project can't be held up. Whatever I said, it reached the minister. Once he called me and he said, it is not correct the way you are doing, and I will put a breach of privilege motion against you, and I will see to it that how you complete this metro project, because you can't do this without you know, fulfilling these expectations. So I also told him, I was younger that time, and I had that fighting spirit, and I said, sir, this project is approved by the cabinet, and you are member of the cabinet. So if you want to cancel it, please take it back to cabinet, get it cancelled. But so long as it is not done, I'm not scared of your empty threats, and I will also see to it that the project is completed. But I will also tell you to give advantage to the minister. He also, that was one particular moment. Probably some people must be sitting in front of him. He wanted to show them that he is supportive of them. He's the boss. But then we met after a few days on some other meeting, and he asked me, you said something like this to me. I said, but I was not wrong. You tell me whether I was wrong. And then he accepted. And he said, yes, okay, let us forget. And we'll see, I will help you in getting that structure cleared. So many such events, many such incidents happen in public life. But overall, our society, it's a pluralistic society. There are so many voices and so many streams of thought. But after some time, you need to have that patience, and you need to understand the knack of bringing people together. And making them agree on certain minimum,
Do you think women do that better?
I think so.
The power of persuasion.
Yes, power of persuasion.
The power of persuasion. Ashwini Bide, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for a woman who's made history here in Mumbai. Ashwini Bide, the first Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashwini and Shireen, for that conversation. But I would like to request both of you to continue being on stage as we now come to the defining moment and the exciting moment of the evening of Future Female Forward Icon Felicitations. The women we honor tonight have each changed the shape of leadership in their own way. To begin the first set of honors, may I invite Amitabh Malhotra, the Vice Chairman, Investment Banking, HSBC India. On stage, please do come on stage. Chetna Gala Sinha, founder Mandeshi Foundation and Mandeshi Mahila Bank. Commissioned into the Army Ordnance Corps in 1994, our first icon was among the early women officers inducted into the Indian Army. In 1997, she became the first woman officer from the logistics branch posted to a high-altitude, extreme cold climate area with the Siachen Glacier within her area of responsibility. During Operation Vijay, she became the first woman logistics officer in an active battle zone, managing critical supplies of ammunition, equipment, and warlike stores, while in her second trimester of pregnancy. There was no breach on her watch. In 2023, she became the first woman veteran to salute the President of India on Kartavya Path and was later felicitated by President Srimati Draupadi Murmu as an Asmita icon for duty without compromise and courage under pressure. Please welcome Captain Yashika Hatwal Tyagi.
A war veteran here with us. Again, a woman who's broken many, many glass ceilings and is boundaryless in many ways. Captain Tyagi, it's an honor and a privilege to have you here with us. You know, here we were all talking about navigating the workplace and maternity and marriage, and you were in Siachen Glacier, 5 months pregnant, managing the Kargil war.
Jai Hind. I'll just take a minute or two. Can I keep this here?
Yes.
Well, I'm from Army Logistics Corps, Army Ordnance Corps, and that means that one is responsible for the supply chain management. एक ही चीज कहते हैं फौज में कि सिपाही के जब तक बंदूक में गोली है और उसके पेट में रोटी है, वो लड़ाई लड़ सकता है. और ये दोनों काम लॉजिस्टिक्स के हैं. I'm so proud to belong to this organization, and I'm so proud to belong to this organization at a time when it was such a huge moment in our Indian military history, Operation Vijay. Well, ma'am, I was not an active war zone. Since logistics is always a supply chain management, we support the forces.
And yes, I was in my second trimester of pregnancy, 4th, 5th, and 6th month. Directly coincided with the May, June, July 1999 when the battle was being fought in icy heights. But as we have this Future Female Forward, again, I'm so proud to belong to this organization that 32 years down the line, the journey of women in armed forces has been so incredible. Women are now flying fighter jets. We are there on warships. We are there manning pinakas. What is pinakas? The air defense that we saw during Operation Sindoor. Women were even managing the drones. Women are everywhere in armed forces. Less armored, that is the tanks and the infantry. And I just hope to see this come to light in my living years. And just to take this conversation just a minute more longer, very recently I was in Northeast as part of an all-woman car rally. I was the brand ambassador for this. And what I saw there actually meets the, the mandate for this Future Female Forward. During the flight, I met a lady who was on her first solo journey. Shirin, you come here. I want to look at your face when I'm speaking. Such a pretty face and such an intelligent woman. So this woman was doing her first solo journey, and this permission she had gotten from her family. Permission, the word permission. And the sentence that she used was, "Ma'am, agar safety ka issue nahi hota, to ladkiyan kitne aage tak ja sakti thi?" So capability is not a problem, the environment is. And just as the same evening ended, I met a lady who had solo driven her bike through 64 countries and created a Guinness Book of World Record. So you see, we are on two scales. And then the next day, I was speaking at NEPA, that is Northeastern Police Academy, and there was this array of women, police officers, some SIs, some ASIs, some DSPs, and these women probably were the first women who were wearing uniform through the, from their villages or from their little towns, from Manipur and Tripura and Mizoram and Arunachal. And then in this car rally, there were two taxi drivers, women taxi drivers, who were acting as the backup drivers, and not just any taxi driver. They were the tourist cabbies. That means they would take tourists to different places in Northeast for days to end. Imagine, in any other state it is so difficult, but in Northeast it is happening. And then I got to meet a Chakma leader, that is a tribe in Arunachal, and then got to speak to the women from a small village in Nagaland called Khonoma, and their only dream was कि हमारे बच्चों को अच्छा education मिलना चाहिए. Now tell me, is it any different for you? Is it any different for me? So we all connect on that level. The word for women is just the same. We have our own trials, we have our own tribulations. पर फौज में कहते हैं कि बंदूक पे जब ट्रिगर होता है, ट्रिगर पे जब उंगली होती है तो बंदूक को नहीं पता होता है कि ये आदमी का हाथ है कि ये औरत का हाथ है. Similarly, when the bullet goes out of that gun and the gun hits a body, the bullet does not know whether it is hitting a male's body or a female's body. And there is another battle zone lesson which is very perfect for women, and that is hesitation kills. And same in life. For women, fear is not a problem. Hesitation is. Because women always want to do things 100% right. We will not take a decision till the time we are not even 100. We are 200% sure, and that gives us a tag of hesitant leader. Men call us hesitant leaders because during our childhoods, we have not been given that opportunity to make those small little decisions. And so we are called hesitant leaders. But women, you don't need any permission. You don't need to be validated from the people who are not valid to validate you. You be your own person. You move out in that world with your own chandelier, go in your own spotlight, and only permission that you should give yourself is, "Mujhe rukna nahi hai." Thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Captain Tyagi. What an absolute pleasure and honor it is to have you here with us. And that's the message that we want to send out. Rukna nahi hai, and be your own chandelier. We don't do that enough. Be your own chandelier. What a wonderful message to leave us with. Thank you so much for joining us here. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Our next icon is an actor who continues to redefine versatility with every performance. From Bads of Bollywood to Happy Patel, Border 2, and now Kora Season 2, she has delivered one standout performance after another across completely different worlds and characters. Known for what many fondly call Mona Ka magic, her ability to bring depth, honesty, and emotional nuance to every role makes each character feel truly lived in. 2026 has been a defining year for her, driven by performance-led choices and a constant spirit of reinvention. A performer who effortlessly disappears into every narrative while leaving a lasting impact. Please welcome the incredibly talented actor and entrepreneur, Mona Singh. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mona Singh.
Mona, congratulations and thank you so much for joining us here at the Future Female Forward stage. I want to ask you, this is a business which is very, very exacting, especially for women. And women are always seen with an expiry date. You've been around for over 2 decades now. What is the Mona Ka magic? What is the Mona Ka mantra of surviving it all and staying relevant?
No, I'm okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. This I rather hold tonight. I think my mantra is very simple. It's to stay curious and to remain a student all my life. And I feel I don't believe in expiry dates here because we are not products. We are performers, right? And as long as there are complex, women's stories to portray, there's work to be done.
Speaking of complex roles and speaking of stories to be told, to the point that was being made here by many, that women often hold themselves back out of the fear of judgment, out of the fear of scrutiny, how the world is going to perceive us. I mean, you started your career in the most non-obvious way of playing a character that would typically have put a lot of people, made a lot of people afraid of going down that path, because in Indian entertainment industry, it's either the heroine or the vamp, and then the item girl thrown in for good measure, and nothing in between. How have you remained fearless in making the choices that you've made through the course of your career?
Well, it's never easy. You see, it's never easy for women. It's just never easy to be in an industry where you don't know anybody. You're like an outsider. You're making your own choices, decisions, and then you're owning up. But I feel all the fear, the doubt, the self-doubt, the hesitation, it's all there in the mind. I treat it as a background noise. I think my mantra is to, concentrate more on the craft and care less about the consequence. And I think that's the only way forward.
And I think we need, again, that's another very important message, because we have this tendency of overthinking. We also have a tendency of absorbing what is being said to us. Do you look at the comment section at all on social media, or you don't bother with that?
Not anymore. It used to bog me down earlier, but now not anymore.
Not anymore. So what is next for you, Mona?
Well, I've had 5 releases this year. Next is going to happen sometime in July, I guess. So I am excited about that. It's a Raju Hirani show. He's producing it. So that's coming out soon. So yeah, lots of good things going on.
I can't let you go, because there was a conversation here that we had earlier today on not just the need for independent women, but the need for independent men. And I came across an Instagram reel where you were talking exactly about that. And I think we have to normalize that conversation, right?
We have to. Men have to grow up. Men have to take responsibility. Men have to learn to, run the house, not just go to work and come back and say, I'm tired. Women do everything. And I am a Fauji's daughter, ma'am. So, yeah, 104 sada tayar. But, that is most of the times, the question that I'm asked about men. Men need to grow up. They cannot be mama's boys anymore.
They cannot be mama's boys anymore. Mona Singh, thank you so much. Congratulations, and thank you very much for being here with us this evening. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mona Singh. Thank you, Mr. Malhotra, for doing the honors. I'd like to now invite N. Suresh, the Chief Operating Officer at HSBC India, to present the next set of awards. Our next icon chose a road few women are expected to take and made it on her own. Known as Girl Biker Komal, she began riding at 9. At 19, she became the first woman from Karnataka to complete a solo ride from Karnataka to Kashmir and back, a record recognized by the India Book of Records and Asia Book of Records in 2023. Beyond being a professional dirt racer, stunt rider and tourer, she donates blood twice a year on her parents' birthdays and famously grew her hair for nearly 2 years to donate it to cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy. A rider who turned movement into courage. Please welcome Komal Prabhuguda Patil with a big round of applause.
I wish we could have had her, given her a bike here on stage to actually get a glimpse of what she does. But what a fabulous story, ladies and gentlemen, one of our young icons here this evening. Komal started riding at 9. I mean, what was the conversation like with your parents?
It's just because of my dad, because my dad and mom both are riders. So even he is a racer. So I started riding on his bike.
That clearly helped, and you've created many records, as we just pointed out. What was that like for you as you drove from one place to another? And when people see a woman, once the helmet comes off and see that you're a young woman, what's the reaction usually like?
Usually people don't believe that women ride bike. It's not specified or not written anywhere that bikes are meant for men. It's also for women also. So I just want all parents to leave your kids to do whatever they want, because my parents left me to do whatever I want. That's the reason I'm here today. Maybe your kids deserve a big stage like me also. So I just want to request all the parents to support your kids.
Please unconditionally support your kids, and sometimes they may surprise you with the choices that they make. What's the next ride? What's the ride of your life that you're looking forward to?
This is a very good question. This next month, I'm having my National Rally Championships. One is by MRF and one more is Monsoon Scooter Rally. I'm taking part in National Champions. In next few years, I might take part in international rallies also. Yes, that's it.
What is the fastest speed that you ride?
I have achieved 173 on Duke 390. That's my fastest speed on two-wheeler.
173 kilometers, ladies and gentlemen. That is the speed we need to take this movement. Thank you very much, Komal. Congratulations. And thank you so much for joining us here this evening.
Our next icon is an entrepreneur from Bhopal whose roots came with age limits. She built her own. Elbrus, Kilimanjaro, Koisko, Island Peak, a first Everest attempt in 2023 that reached 8,160 meters before weather forced her back. And on 19th May 2024, at 55, she stood at 8,848 meters, becoming the oldest Indian woman to summit Mount Everest and breaking the previous national record by 2 years. She is also credited with summiting Mount Vinson in Antarctica in December 2024, another step in a journey that was defined not by age, but by altitude, discipline, and refusal. With a big round of applause, please welcome Jyoti Ratre, who has proved that ambition has no expiry date.
Ladies and gentlemen, ain't no mountain high enough. Clearly, that's an example here on our stage. Jyoti ji, congratulations and thank you so much for joining us here today. What made you at 49 want to do this and at 55 achieve part of the dream that you've always dreamt of? And what was the reaction and the response when you told people that this is what you wanted to do?
48 की एज में पहली बार पहाड़ों को देखा और जब पहाड़ों को देखा तो पहली नज़र का प्यार हो गया और कहते हैं कि पहली नज़र के प्यार के लिए व्यक्ति कुछ भी कर गुजरता है और वही मैंने भी किया कि अपनी पहली नज़र के प्यार के लिए मैं माउंट एवरेस्ट चढ़ गई। और जो आपने पूछा कि रिएक्शन, तो मैं ये कहूँगी कि जब मैंने ये सपना देखा तो लोगों ने मेरी हंसी उड़ाई। तो मैं यहाँ जो यंगस्टर हैं उनसे कहना चाहूँगी कि सपना ऐसा देखो कि लोग हंसें। अगर लोग हंस नहीं रहे तो इसका मतलब आपका सपना छोटा है। और ये सब के जो मैंने अभी तक किया है वो इन 3 लाइनों में समेटा हुआ है कि राह जहाँ तक जाएगी राहगीर वहाँ तक जाएगा, तुम दरिया से क्या पूछ रहे कि नीर कहाँ तक जाएगा, खींच धनुष की डोर निशाना साधो अपनी मंजिल का, बाकी बाद में देखेंगे कि तीर कहाँ तक जाएगा। तो जब मैंने एवरेस्ट के लिए सोचा था तो ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था कि मैं कर पाऊँगी या नहीं कर पाऊँगी। मैंने पहले ही दिन जिस दिन सोचा था कि मुझे एवरेस्ट जाना है उसी दिन ये पक्का था कि मैं एवरेस्ट को फतह करूँगी। हालांकि 2023 में एक ऐसी घटना घटी कि मुझे 600 मीटर से वापस आना पड़ा। हमारे एक जो को क्लाइंबर थे उनकी रेस्क्यू करना था और कोई भी गाइड उनको लेकर जाने के लिए तैयार नहीं था और मैंने वहाँ पर अपने गाइड को उनको दिया। और माउंट एवरेस्ट एक ऐसी जगह है जहाँ लोगों का तन मन और धन भी जाता है। तो लोग कभी भी अपने, जब हम बेस कैंप पे होते हैं तो हमको ये सिखाया जाता है कि कोई भी अपनी ऑक्सीजन और अपना गाइड किसी को नहीं देगा, लेकिन मैंने अपने को क्लाइंबर की जान बचाने के लिए अपना अभियान वहीं छोड़ा और 2023 में मैं वापस आ गई। लेकिन शायद मैं 2024 से ज़्यादा खुश थी कि मेरी वजह से अगर किसी एक व्यक्ति की जान बची है तो वो एवरेस्ट पे झंडा फहराने से ज़्यादा बड़ी बात है। तो एक ये संदेश भी है कि लक्ष्य चाहे कितना भी ऊंचा हो लेकिन मानवता को हमेशा ऊपर रखिए। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
ज्योति जी धन्यवाद। अगला मुकाम क्या है? अगला आप क्या फतह करने जा रही हैं?
जब मैंने एवरेस्ट सोचा था तो वो सिर्फ एवरेस्ट ही सोचा था, लेकिन क्योंकि मुझे कहीं से ट्रेनिंग नहीं मिली तो मैंने अपने लिए ऐसे पहाड़ चुने कि मुझे ट्रेनिंग मिलती चली जाए। तो इस तरह मेरे 4 कॉन्टिनेंट के हाईएस्ट पीक हो गए थे और 5वां मेरा एवरेस्ट हो गया। तो लोगों ने ही मुझे लक्ष्य दे दिया कि अब आप 7 महाद्वीपों के सबसे हाईएस्ट पीक फतह कर लीजिए। तो मैं अभी मई में अलास्का जाने वाली हूँ। अभी उसका परमिट ड्यू है कि वो हमें मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा, और अगर नहीं मिलता है तो मैं फिर एक रिकॉर्ड के लिए मतलब मैं हमेशा अपने लिए 2 लक्ष्य तैयार रखती हूँ कि अगर एक फेल हो तो दूसरे पे काम शुरू। तो दूसरा जो लक्ष्य है वो नॉर्थ अमेरिका का हाईएस्ट वॉल्केनो है जो अभी तक इंडिया से किसी भी लेडी ने फतह नहीं किया है। तो अगर मैं दिनाली नहीं जा पाई तो मैं उसको फतह करूँगी और आप सभी की शुभकामनाएं चाहती हूँ।
सबकी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं आपको। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आज हमारे साथ यहाँ पे आने के लिए। फ्यूचर फीमेल फॉरवर्ड में आपने हमसे अपनी बातें शेयर की एंड आई थिंक व्हाट अ वंडरफुल थिंग शी सेड, हैव अ बैकअप गोल, हैव अ बैकअप प्लान। इफ वन डजंट वर्क आउट perhaps the other will. Let's not fixate on just that one thing. Thank you so much Jyoti for joining us here. हाँ जी,
एक संदेश और देना चाहूँगी जिसके लिए मैंने ये सब कुछ किया है कि हमारे भारत में ये माना जाता है कि 50 के बाद जीवन खत्म। तो मैं कहना चाहती हूँ कि 50 के बाद जीवन खत्म नहीं होता है, 50 के बाद जीवन शुरू होता है। और जो अभी तक आपने नहीं सोचा है वो आप सोच सकते हैं, और जो आप सोच सकते हैं वो उसे पूरा कर सकते हैं। अगर 49 साल की उम्र में मैंने माउंट एवरेस्ट जैसा सपना देखा और 55 साल की उम्र में पूरा कर लिया तो कोई भी कुछ भी सपना देख के पूरा कर सकता है। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
50 is the new 20. Thank you very, very much for joining us here this evening. Jyoti ji, thank you so much.
Congratulations to all of our icons so far. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for all our icons who've got their honors today. I would also like to thank Mr. Suresh and Mrs. Sinha for doing the honors. Ashwini ji, please stay on stage for the next set of felicitations. May I now invite Amitabh Nevatia, CFO HSBC India, Vibha Padalkar, CEO HDFC Life, and Singaravelu Ekambaram, SVP and Global Head of Delivery Americas, Cognizant, to join Ashwini ji to present the next set of honors. Our next icon belongs to a generation not asking whether the sky is the limit. She is already preparing for what lies beyond it. An analog astronaut, space researcher, advanced scuba diver, and student pilot, her work spans space exploration, extreme environment trading, and STEM advocacy. From NASA-associated programs to the Advanced Possum Academy, the Analog Astronaut Training Center in Poland, and Mars-like field terrain in Iceland, she has trained across some of the world's most demanding scientific environments. Through her research and outreach, she is helping young people, especially girls, see aviation, engineering, and space exploration as futures that they can claim. For representing India's next frontier of ambition and exploration, we honor Janvi Dangeti. Please welcome her with a huge round of applause.
Those pictures back up, because I don't think a lot of people understand what we're actually seeing here on our screens. Janvi, explain to us what an analog astronaut is to start with.
Good evening, everyone. I'm 23. Yes. Yeah. The pictures are from different parts of my training process. Analog astronauts are someone who performs space on Earth. Except the gravity part, we survive on isolation, extreme environmental conditions, challenges, psychological health, physical health. A lot of tests involves. We'll be getting isolated from outside the world, whether it can be under ocean, it can be a desert, it can be in an ice or snow, whatever it is. It would be an very difficult situations to live a regular life. And I was been in a part for lunar simulation and one Martian simulation and one ground simulations. And my recent simulation was Martian simulation from Utah. I was there for 15 days working on Martian regolith, trying to develop a bacteria. And yep.
All of 23 and trying to do what she's just given us very quickly a snapshot of. But what made you want to do this? And and to other girls who are looking at aviation, engineering, astronomy, what has been some of the biggest lessons that you've learned since you started your journey?
The beginning of my journey would definitely sound very silly. It started with my grandmother bedtime stories. She used to mention about a lady who lives on moon, and those stories have sparked interest towards space. But the actual story was my parents moved abroad, leaving behind me with my grandparents just to support me here. And that time, when someone asked me, what do you want to become in the future, I would always say them that I want to go to moon. And whenever someone asked how, I would just reply them, I want to build a big ladder and just climb on it. And growing up in a town where people always confuse between astronomy and astrology, it was always hard for me to explain them that what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to reach. So many people, including my own relatives, advised my father, just stop her doing from all this crazy thing. This would never lead her to anything. Just get her married or find a good groom by saving all the money that you're spending on this girl. But my father, he never listened. He always believed in me, and I'm a single child. He was always like, just go do whatever you want. Marks never define you. just step out. And to every woman who is dreaming and questioning herself whether to step forward or to just stay back there, just take the step. You doesn't really have to have clear path, and dreams doesn't have to wait for permission. All they have to do is just move. Just take a step out of the place because you already made a decision, and that's the first step. And all you have to do is move out of the place. Thank you. So when you went to the moon? Oh, I'm still young. Let me do it slow and steady. Let me conquer Earth first, then we'll go to moon.
Wish you the very best of luck as you conquer the earth, the sky, and at some point in time, perhaps the moon. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fabulous story. You don't need permission to dream. Janvi, thank you very, very much for joining us here this evening. Thank you.
Our next icon found her voice through the lens and her perspective in the wild. She held her first camera at the age of 2. By 9, she had already become the youngest Indian to be recognized at the Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition by the Natural History Museum, London, widely regarded as the Oscars of wildlife photography. Since then, she has continued to build an extraordinary body of work, returning to the same global stage with 2 more recognized images, and in 2025, securing first place in the under 20 category at the Siena International Photo Awards in Italy. Wildlife photography demands patience, silence, discipline, and the instinct to see what most people miss, and she has shown that rare gift early and with exceptional clarity. For proving that perspective can begin young and excellence has no age, please welcome Shreyovi Mehta with a huge round of applause.
Shreyovi, congratulations. Right up here, we're going to photograph you now. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for someone who's truly put India on the global map. And can we put the images back on so we can actually see the work that Shreyovi does? Shreyovi, when did you first pick up the camera? At 2? You were all of 2 when you first held the camera?
Yeah, I was 2 when I first picked up a camera.
And what, the pictures that you shot that have won you this award, how long did it take for you to get those in exactly the way that you wanted them?
It took me a while, like half an hour max, I guess.
That's all it took you, is it? Half an hour? Okay.
No, because the peahens were already at the center of the road when we arrived, but the blue bull came after a while.
What has nature taught you as you sit there taking these pictures? What do you learn the most from nature?
So it was really hard to build patience and be silent in the nature for me, as I'm very talkative and I'm very impatient. I'm very fidgety. It took me a while to build patience, but the journey was very good.
The journey was very good. So now how long can you stay without looking at your phone without fidgeting?
I'll take my school hours, 7 hours.
7 hours, because you're not allowed a phone in school, right?
Yeah, but we have got iPads.
Okay, but you have iPads. Okay, well done. So do you have like a dream picture that you want to take in your head at this point in time?
So I want to take a snow leopard in the Himalayas. So I wanted to go there since 2 years. This year my exam started, so I could not go, but I think I'm going to go.
When are you planning this visit?
Next year, February, I guess. February or March.
Next year, February. So what has been when you were up there and you were getting all of these awards and so on and so forth, what were you thinking at that point in time?
I was really grateful to my photography mentors, my parents, to support me in this dream and nurturing my interest in wildlife photography.
Okay. Shreyovi, we wish you all the very best. Is there something that you want to say to all the young girls who are watching you, young girls like you, who are looking at their own individual dreams?
Enjoy nature, respect nature. Photography is always secondary. Being in the nature is the most important part. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. A big round of applause to Shreyovi.
Thank you, Mr. Singarvelu, for joining us. May I now invite Shailaja Jostulas, SVP and Global Head GCC Service Line, to join Amitabh, Vibha and Ashwini Ji to present the next set of awards. Our next icon duo chose the road long before they built a business around it. After nearly 15 years each in the corporate world, they stepped away from boardrooms and into the driver's seat, turning a lifelong instinct for travel into something far more transformative. A 23,000-kilometer self-drive journey from India to Morocco became the turning point. What began as an expedition became a new way of thinking about movement, freedom and possibility, and eventually the foundation for Embark Motorworld. Since then, they have mapped, led and redefined self-drive journeys across some of the world's most challenging terrains while creating space for more women to take the wheel themselves. Through curated all-women expeditions, they have turned the open road into a place of confidence, independence and self-trust, proving that sometimes most powerful shift begins simply by taking the driver's seat. Please welcome the co-founders of Embark Motorworld, Medha Joseph and Sujal Patwardhan.
Medha, Sujal, congratulations once again. And, let me start by asking you, giving up corporate careers that were already, you must have been mid-management if you had done 15 odd years, to give that all up and just literally get into the driver's seat and take the road. What made you want to do that?
I think the corporate career does that to you, right? After working for 15 years, I think what it hits you is that you need to prioritize yourself. And you need to spend some time doing something that you like, because that's what makes you realize what you want to do, right? Because corporate is endless, the rat race is endless. And to find where you stand in that entire race, you need to give some time to yourself. And that's where the whole seed of this cross-continent journey took seed, and we just did it.
Cross-continent driving, that to women, and then building this into a business that also involves only women. We were just talking about safety, and public safety is the number one reason why a lot of women don't do the things that they want to do. How did you deal with that?
I think this was the single inspiration for why we moved to an all-women category this year. We've been doing this for the last 11 years, and the growing trend that we saw in the last few years especially was a number of women who wanted to step out, wanted to step out of their comfort zone, push their limits in terms of driving, in terms of tackling different terrains. And if one thing stopped them was a safe and secure environment. And that's, I think, where we found our purpose. We thought if we can provide this singularly, create a safe environment, create a well-thought-through program, specifically for women, I think that's going to be a game changer, because everything that we've spoken about the entire evening, whether it's navigating the chaos, whether it's leadership, whether it's making decisions, you can all see that under one roof on a road trip.
You preempted my question. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. What have been some of the lessons from being on the road and being on the road with a whole bunch of other diverse women who are trying to chart their own course, who are trying to race their own race?
To really answer that question, first is women are excellent drivers, and they're the most disciplined drivers. More than anything, because even when we started, we were not very sure, right? Taking a bunch of 30, 40 women on a road trip, which is 15 days. We recently finished a Kutch to Kibitu, which is, the breadth of a country. They're most disciplined, and it's such a diverse environment. And we often, we've seen it, women, when they
travel, when they go on a vacation, they're still taking care of their families, their friends. They never really travel for themselves. And sitting on the driver's seat, so many women have told us that we have never driven beyond the 4th gear. Right? I mean, and you will be surprised because these are women like you and me. The camaraderie that gets created, the sisterhood, and they're all in touch with each other. And it creates an environment for them, to navigate even life. It just doesn't end with those 15 days on the road. It continues, and that has inspired us to, really do more and more of that.
We wish you the very best of luck and thank you for breaking the myth that women are bad drivers. There's nothing further from the truth. Thank you very, very much. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our icons this evening.
Our next icon shows a road that many women are still told is not meant for them. After moving through several jobs in search of stability and satisfaction, she found both behind the wheel. For over a decade, she has worked as a professional driver with platforms including Ola, Uber, and Rapido, building her independence one ride at a time. In a profession where women remain the exception, her story is not about spectacle. It is about work, dignity, self-reliance, and the quiet courage to keep choosing your own road. For showing that empowerment can begin with earning on your own terms, please welcome Iram Butt with a big round of applause.
Iram, congratulations. The gig economy is a nascent phenomena. Women participating in the gig economy is an even more nascent phenomena. Iram, आपसे जानना चाहूँगी कि आपने जब decide किया कि आप Ola, Uber, Rapido चलाएंगी, तो सबसे पहले किसने आपको बोला कि ये नहीं कर सकते?
मैम, सपोर्ट में भी फैमिली रहती है और मना करने में भी फैमिली रहती है. तो पहले यही था कि मतलब सही नहीं है, कोई क्या बोलेगा. फिर मेरा खुद का ये डिसीजन था कि जब मेरे को गाड़ी चलाने का पैशन है तो मैं क्यों ना उसको एज अ प्रोफेशन यूज़ करूँ. तो मैंने अपनी तरफ से ये डिसीजन ली और फिर धीरे धीरे मेरे फैमिली वाले भी कन्विंस हुए और आज 12-13 साल हो गया. अभी वो कन्विंस भी है और सपोर्टिव भी है.
कन्विंस भी है और सपोर्टिव भी है. लेकिन सबसे पहले जब आपका पहला कस्टमर था, उनका रिएक्शन क्या था और अब क्या रिएक्शन आपको मिलता है जब कोई देखता है कि आप चला रही हैं गाड़ी?
मैम, रिएक्शन में कोई फर्क नहीं है. वो जो फर्स्ट कस्टमर थे, अभी कल तक के जो लास्ट कस्टमर थे, उनका भी वही रिएक्शन था. ओ, आई एम थैंकफुल टू यू आर माई ड्राइवर. बोले ओके मैम, थैंक यू. आप पहले लेडी ड्राइवर जो हमको मिले, बॉम्बे में कभी कोई लेडी ड्राइवर. मैं बोली मैम 2-3 है, वो नहीं मिले आपको. तो बोले नहीं, आप ही मिले. तो मैं बोली ठीक है. अब यहाँ तक पहुँचाने वाले भी लेडी राइडर ही थे जो मेरे साथ बैठे थे. उन्होंने मुझे पूछा कि आप कभी टीवी पे आए? मैं बोली नहीं आए. तो बोले आना चाहोगे? मैं बोली पता नहीं मुझे किस चीज़ के लिए बुला रहे. तो उन्होंने बोले कि हम ये वुमेंस इवेंट कर रहे हैं. तो बोली ठीक है, मैं आती हूँ, मेरा एक्सपीरियंस जो भी है बताऊंगी. तो इतना रिस्पेक्ट, इतना अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस मुझे नहीं लगता कोई जॉब में 9 to 10 स्टक होने के बाद मुझे मिलता. वहाँ पे छुट्टियों के लिए लेटर ईमेल करने पड़ते, या मुझे अपनी मर्जी से, चाहे मैं हाफ डे से जाऊँ चाहे मैं फुल डे से जाऊँ, मैं अपनी ओन बॉस हूँ ये काम में. मुझे कोई लीड नहीं कर सकता.
आप अपनी ओन बॉस है, तो क्या कहेंगी आप जो आपको लड़कियां अभी देख रही हैं और अभी भी काफ़ी एक परसेप्शन है कि ये ड्राइविंग वाइविंग लड़कों की बात है, लड़कियों की बात नहीं है, तो क्या आप कहना चाहेंगे? क्योंकि ये जो मैंने जैसे कहा कि ये सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट गिग इकोनॉमी एक काफ़ी बढ़ता हुआ एक सेक्टर है, क्या कहेंगी आप लोगों को?
इससे पहले कोई मैम थे जिन्होंने हेजिटेशन की बात की थी आई थिंक. तो काफ़ी लड़कियों में ये होता है कि ये करना सही है या नहीं है. फिर कोई फैमिली में सपोर्ट करता है, कोई नहीं करता है. वो हमारा स्लोगन है ना, बेटी पढ़ाओ बेटी बचाओ. तो अगर किसी लड़की के दिल में ये है कि वो कुछ करे और इस फील्ड में भी करे, तो मैं बोलती हूँ बेटी को गले लगाओ और हिम्मत बढ़ाओ.
बेटी को गले लगाओ और हिम्मत बढ़ाओ. Iram Butt, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, what a wonderful example of true empowerment. Thank you so much for joining us. And here's a story. It was our colleague Komal जिसने आपको राइड किया, आपके साथ आप राइड लिया था. And Komal reached out to us and she said, I met this wonderful woman and can we bring her on to Future Female Forward? And I said, you don't even have to ask, and I'm so glad कि आप हमारे साथ आज इस मंच पे हैं. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.
A heartfelt congratulations to all of our icons who were recognized for their exceptional work and impact tonight. And I would also like to thank all of our presenters for doing the honors. But I would like to call all of the winners on stage and all of the presenters as well back on stage to take a picture before we wind down the evening.
Can we have everybody back? All the winners, Iram, Captain Tyagi, can we have all of you back on stage, please, for a photo op? And come on, guys, we can do better. It's the final moment.
Big round of applause,
Let's
guys.
keep the applause going. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ashwini Bide, for joining us here this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we close this evening, one thing is very clear. And as we close this evening, one thing is very clear. Women's leadership is no longer just about representation. It is about access, opportunity, and the systems that shape advancement. And it is about women who continue to expand what leadership can look like. That is the promise of Future Female Forward. Not a single story of success, but a wider architecture of possibility. Our sincere thanks to HSBC India, Cognizant, Reliance Industries Limited, FICCI and IMFA Partner for their partnership and support, and to all our speakers, icons and guests for being part of this evening. And if you'd like to stay connected with the Future Female Forward community beyond tonight, simply scan the QR code displayed on the LED screens to join the FFF platform. Thank you so much for joining us at the CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective Season 4, Mumbai chapter. Good night and take care, everyone.
HSBC presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, co-presented by Cognizant.